Hey everyone, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game by critiquing former players. I am one of your three co-hosts, Derek Kupacek, and today we are going to be looking at the Postmerge, nothing but the Postmerge, and doing a season general recap and our feelings of it on Season 37, David versus Goliath. And tonight I am joined by two fabulous co-hosts. One of them's a David, one of them's Goliath. I'm not going to tell you which is which. Ryan Stacy and Josh Wessler. You got your back, Ryan. How you guys doing?
Y'all about to get schooled, Sunday schooled, that is.
That was...
I don't know what that means.
I'm
David versus Goliath.
I was going to say, I'm just going to serve you up to the Philistine army.
Yeah. Sweet Bible reference, yo.
They keep walking, but we won't knock down our walls.
I would watch a Survivor Veggie Tales, like Bob the tomato and Larry the cucumber on Survivor.
Oh,
I'd watch a Veggie Tales version of that.
Yeah.
Survivor Bob versus Larry.
No, I'm good. I'm great, actually, because David versus Goliath with one flaw is an awesome season.
I'm not even going to say that it's a flaw of the season. It's a flaw of a player on the season.
Yes.
Long past the season, and obviously we touched on that in the pre-merge, but
we'll recontextualize it tonight. But no, this post-merge is awesome. It is so fun.
like we loved the pre-merge.
Yes.
I love the post-merge. This is, and it's so on brand too. How can you accidentally perfectly encapsulate the idea or the theme of David versus Goliath in one post-merge? This is how you do it. They well cast. This is a top tier Survivor cast.
You couldn't write a better version of this.
No, you couldn't.
Scripted. No, I'm kidding.
How are you doing, Josh?
No, I'm doing good. I had a really fun time watching this post-merge. Watching this post-merge. Like you said, characters are fun. A few most memorable moments that we're definitely going to be covering that I'm excited to talk about. And all around good gameplay and some new twists and turns along the way. So I think that there's a lot to cover here in this podcast.
Yeah, lots of new stuff to talk about, and just exciting gameplay.
Yeah, buckle up, buckaroos, because this might be a longer one.
Yes, I think so. There's a lot to talk about here. So let's move it along. The point of this podcast is there's a lot of Survivor out there. You might not have time to watch it all, so we are here to tell you what is must-watch Survivor. If you can't do it all yourself, we'll watch it for you. So guys, Survivor David versus Goliath, now that we're done with the whole thing, is this must-watch Survivor?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, why not?
One of the easiest yeses.
From entertainment alone.
Yeah, entertainment alone and just gameplay. There's some absolutely stellar gameplay here. There's one thing to not love about this season, and the rest of it is nothing but love.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get into spoilers, huh? So we can talk about this thing. 3, 2,
Go watch it.
1. Go watch this one. The only flaw with this season is that Mike White wins. Mike White's the winner. Is that right? Right?
Yeah, right. We're going to go ahead and smash the hourglass here. It's the one time that we want the hourglass. We're going to go back in time, and all of the jury can go and see what Nick Wilson turns into and vote for somebody else, anybody else.
As Davey once tweeted, Nick Wilson who?
That's right.
Nick Wilson wins the season, and at the time, he's a great character on the show. He's fun to watch. His story is very compelling.
It's really easy to root for him,
and that's going to continue into Winners at War, and then post Winners at War, Nick got into, as we mentioned, he's in the Kentucky House of Representatives and voted for some kind of heinous anti-trans stuff. So Nick Wilson sucks, and the fact that he won the season, looking back on it, that's a bummer, man. This is such a great season. This is a top-tier season, and then now we have this little blemish on it. That isn't the season's fault. It's Nick Wilson's fault.
Yeah.
Screw that guy.
Any person who votes to basically invalidate the existence of trans people, but then also votes to legalize marriage between first cousins, I'm not going to ever stop clowning him for that, because again, we're invalidating people's existence, despite his entire theme this season being, I hate bullies, and I got into public defense to try and give people a fair shake at life. I want to try and make people feel seen.
I want to help people. Go F yourself, Nick.
Maybe you should go watch your own season, Nick. Oh, well, I was young and naive. I've learned more since then. And people were always going to get angry when I did something like this. But you know what, everyone, I did it for the kids. I did it for F Nick Wilson. I know it's usually Ryan to say it, but What a pile of crap.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Like, if you vote for something like that, you're just a pile of crap. That's all I feel.
He is my least favorite Survivor winner.
Ooh, man.
There's a time in the reunion show when he was talking about like, oh, like I really just wanted to get into law school for the money. Now I've got the money, so I can really focus on helping people. And I'm like, okay, I can see where you're making the connection of like getting into like politics and making a like legal change in like certain areas. I'm like, oh, you're so close. You're so close. And then you forgot, how not to be a giant pile of crap.
So yeah, if I had to rank every winner from who I want to see again the most to who I want to see again the list, Nick is dead last.
Yeah, I mean, because Gabler's pretty questionable.
Gabler's questionable. He's probably second, but Nick is dead last.
I don't want to see Brian again. He's kind of a pile of crap
Brian
too.
might be third, but he's at least fascinating. He's a sociopath. Like, what happens when you put a sociopath on Survivor? Like, unethical, maybe. Not a good person, definitely. Interesting, yes. I think it's dead last, and it's not particularly close.
I think that's fair.
So with that horribleness out of the way, we can enjoy the rest of the season for what it is, because it's so fun. This is such a great cast. Everybody here is bringing something to the table. Everyone is here to play, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, and for the rest of this podcast, F. Nick Wilson, he besmirched himself here, but we're not going to keep on harping on that for the rest of this podcast. We just wanted to, kind of get that out of the way up front, give the bad news first, but now we're on to the good news, which is, again, basically this entire post-merge.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier just to talk about it that way. Because, we all really enjoyed this season live, and I still liked it. I still really enjoy it, as long as you are capable of being able to separate that, which understandable if you're not. But if you're able to separate it, then, this can be really entertaining to watch and talk about.
All right, so let's get into this cast. There's 13 people left, 7 Goliaths, 6 Davids. So coming in from the Davids tribe, we have Elizabeth Olsen, kitchen staff from Texas. Carl Boudreau, a truck driver from Houston. Gabby Pascuzzi, a technical writer from Denver. Christian Ubicki, a robotics scientist from Tallahassee. Davey Rickenbacker, a social media manager from Atlanta. And Nick Wilson, a public defender from Kentucky. On the Goliath tribe, we have Mike White, a filmmaker from Los Angeles. Angelina Keeley, a financial consultant from California. Cara Kay, a realtor from San Diego. Allison Raybold, a physician from North Carolina. Alec Merlino, a bartender from California. Dan Rengering, a SWAT officer from Florida. And John, mayor of Slamdown Hennigan, a professional wrestler from LA. So 13 people, 13 characters. Man, and they go for it. It's just so fun. Take notes, Ghost Island.
I'm trying to think, are there any duds in this post-merge at all? I think I would take any of them to play again, except Nick Wilson.
Yes. I'd be fine with any of the other 12 playing again.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're talking about like a dud, like I think the closest might be like a Kara, but that's just because there's so many other characters that get a ton of screen time and editing. So,
and we'll talk about it, but depending on what happens at the Final Four challenge, there's a world where Kara wins this season, and then this gets edited very differently, she's not a dud. So, I mean, let's not bury the lead any further. I think we just jump right into these episodes.
Let's do it. All right, episode 7, there's going to be Tears Shed. We're going to merge. We have 13 people on the same beach, off and running. Elizabeth is irritating Carl, probably partially because she almost knocked him into the fire last episode.
That'll happen.
Yeah, don't do that.
So yeah, he's not a fan. She drives him nuts. And he's going to get drunk at the merge feast and start running his mouth to Dan about how much he wants Elizabeth out. So the Davids are coming in down in numbers, and Carl's already offering Elizabeth up. Bruh. Now, is Carl the drunkest Survivor contestant of all time?
I think there's been drunker people on like individual ones, but this is a recurring theme with Carl. This is going to happen on multiple rewards. So I think there's an argument for like totality of a season.
He gets drunk twice and runs his mouth twice. Carl, maybe you shouldn't drink, man.
I was going to say, I think no one's ever been drunker than Tom Westman in Palau.
Brian Heidig got pretty drunk too.
Yeah, yep.
And Ted in Thailand too.
But the fact that, you need 2 fingers to count it for Carl.
Yep. So yeah, the Goliath's like, okay, yeah, we'll make Elizabeth the target, Carl. Yeah, we can do that. For sure, man. John wants to stay Goliath strong. He's willing to cut Christian as much as he likes the guy. And so we should probably talk about the Goliath mentality, which was kind of spurred by Mike White. And apparently what was talked about early on in the season was that Mike suggested the Goliaths were going to be seen as the villains of the season because everyone's going to want an underdog at David to win. If you get to the end as a David on the jury, you could throw the underdog card in and win. So I think a lot of the Goliaths, especially Mike White, were trying to get 3 Goliaths to the end. So I think that's a big thing this season is that was a tangible thing where it's like Goliaths have to go to the end for a Goliath to win. Otherwise, the David's going to win.
I think that's valid too. We talked about it in our pre-merge podcast, right in the premiere episode, that it feels like Survivor wanted to set it up to where a David either has a really good shot or ends up pulling it out. So that's a really good story. Exactly what you're saying. Mike White is not dumb. He knows stories. He knows writing. So it's, it makes sense that he's the one to really think of this the most and recognize that there might be mechanics in the season that encourage a David to end up winning in the end. So if you can take out that factor and, have 3 at the end and neutralize that aspect of the game, I think it absolutely makes sense for them.
It's a good point, Ryan, that you bring it up, because I hadn't thought about it quite like that, but it does seem apparent in hindsight after you make that comment. Mike White, Adam Klein, very famously, Jonathan Penner, a lot of these really good players, they talk about understanding the narrative, and that is a good way to try and put yourself into the mind of the jury. Who does the jury want to vote for? And on a season like this, again, like you said, Mike White, being kind of a story-driven guy, a narrative-driven guy, if a David makes it to the end, that's a problem, because even a Goliath would maybe vote for a David in that circumstance. So I think that's a good point to bring up, something that's going to be a driving force for pretty much all of the Goliaths.
Yes. So a lot of the Goliaths are going to want to stay Goliath strong, and it makes sense. On this season, probably more than any other. So Carl is going to reveal that Alec blindsided Natalia. That was the Alec's move. So it makes some of the Goliaths trust him less. That's fair. That's fair and valid, and Alex should not have done that.
We just said there's a reason that the Goliaths want to stay Goliath strong, so if you're showing that you're not bad, that equals bad.
Nick is going to tell Christian that Dan has an idol, so that information starts leaking out. Don't tell people you have this stuff, people. And then Dan is going to tell Kara that he has 2 idols now.
He's just so happy to see her.
Let me tell you why not.
Guess what?
2 words, idol nullifier.
I just think about when I try and have a secret with my 4.5-year-old, and I'm like, all right, we're not going to tell Mom that we got Qdoba today. We walk in the door, Mom, I'm not supposed to tell you that we had Qdoba today. Thanks, kid. Can always count on you.
Alec, Allison, and Mike, as a backup plan, they're going to make the Strike Force Alliance with Christian, Gabby, and Nick, so they have Davids they can work with. The plan is to let 2 Davids get picked off before they flip on the Goliaths. I think this is Alec's plan, and I don't know if Mike and Allison were ever really truly on board with it. So maybe they're like, just in case, let's have this. We might not actually do it, but we might.
The way that I see it, since no one on the Goliaths trusts Alec, they're like, yeah, we'll go with you, Alec. We're going to get out 2 Davids, and then, we'll start turning on the Goliaths. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And then they actually vote out Alec at that point because there's a little bit more safety. All the other Goliaths are going to be on board with it, and then you can continue to pick off the Davids.
That probably would make the most sense.
Dan and Kara are going to be up all night whispering to each other, and Elizabeth hears this. She's like, okay, so we have like a showmance duo here. That's great. So she's going to tell the Davids about this, and she's like, how about we get rid of Dan? He's a huge threat, and this breaks up the duo. That's fair.
Yeah, and not that we should have to say this, but maybe don't have giggling conversations into the deep hours of the night on Survivor. First of all, you're already going to make people mad because people need to sleep.
Yep.
And second of all, yeah, okay, now it's a showmance. That's a problem.
Well, and third of all, you're on Survivor. You've got oodles of time to do absolutely nothing at all. You can talk and tell your deepest, darkest secrets during the day. You don't got to do that at night when everyone's in the shelter with you.
Or go down the beach. If you can't sleep, go down the beach and you guys can have a romantic late night convo.
This is pure conjecture, but I feel like this was all Dan. I feel like Kara wanted to go to bed.
Probably.
So Elizabeth tells this to Alec as well. And Alec, he wants to keep playing double agent, so he's going to tell Dan and Carl, hey, Elizabeth's coming after you, Dan. Dan throws a little bit of a hissy fit about it, too, which is quite funny. But we're going to go to the immunity challenge, and Allison is going to win. So the Goliaths, they have a big committee meeting, and Angelina wants to change their target from Elizabeth to Christian, because Christian's the biggest threat in the game. Yes, probably.
Fair enough.
But the way she delivers it, she tries to use like military tactics because her husband is in the military. And this just like royally pisses Dan off. Like, you're not in the military. Like, quit using military tactics. You're not in the army or whatever. So she just drives everyone nuts. And that's going to be like a recurring theme for the rest of the season is Angelina thinks she's doing something great strategically or socially doing it really well. And everybody's like, God, she sucks.
Well, and the hard thing is that we've seen people with strategic chops who have the social grace of a rhinoceros in a China store. So like, this is a good idea, but because it's coming from Angelina and Angelina has no idea how to communicate these ideas and doesn't have the social equity to pull it off, it's like, no, if you want to do it, it actually makes me want to do it less. I'm sure this is a horrible idea.
Yeah, it's going to come down to execution, and that's going to be a recurring theme in the post-merge with Angelina is, like Derek said, a lot of her ideas and her logic are spot on. It's like, oh yeah, this would be a good time to do this, and we could use these methods, this strategy, these tactics, and it's all going to go perfectly. But she's just so bad at, whether it's executing on a plan, communicating it to people, or maybe she just doesn't have the social equity, like Derek was saying, to actually be able to make any of these moves without, people thinking twice or thinking that there's, some hidden meaning because it's Angela. It can't always be that straightforward, right?
So she convinced everybody, like, okay, we're going to do Christian. And then Alec, Allison, John, and Dan are all going to talk. Be like, do any of us actually want Christian out? No? Okay, let's switch this back to Elizabeth. That's 4 of us, at least. Let's do Elizabeth. So they go tell Angelina that the plan is switched back. Dan comes off as kind of condescending, but Angelina is hilariously pissed about it. So fun. Angelina is hilarious. Unintentionally.
Well, and I know we talked about the Goliath mentality. You want to go to the end with 3 Goliaths. But one thing that casting got perfectly, the egos on the Goliath tribe. Oh my, that is like, it's not even an unstoppable force, an immovable object. It's just unstoppable forces all colliding from different directions.
Yeah. So Angelina, who wants to try and save face like with the jury, wants to curry favor with the jury already, is going to tell Elizabeth she's going. She's going to try and frame this as, I just had this human moment where I had to tell her. And then later she's like, yeah, I was 100% pandering. But she's going to try and play this off like, it was just a moment of weakness where I just felt like I had to let her know. Amazing.
I mean, one of many Emmys that Angelina deserves to win for acting jobs on the season. I'm not quite put off by her yet at this point in watching, I guess, season 37. But man, oh man, it looks so phony on screen.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
And you have to be careful because Elizabeth is going to be the mayor of Ponderosa. So, this high risk, high reward, you could say that, where if Angela is able to do this and, send Elizabeth out the door with, a really good taste in her mouth about Angelina, then, that they could set her up for success if she makes it to final tribal council. However, the exact opposite is also possible. So keep that in mind. I would not like to keep my Survivor game up to that chance. So I would try to avoid it completely if I were you.
Yeah, you're better off being neutral with the Mayor of Ponderosa than trying to make that this specific risk. Elizabeth tells the other Davids this plan, and she suggests, I'm going to blow it all up at Tribal Council. I'll blow up Angelina's spot. That's not what you want to do. You want to, if you have the time, if they had 2 minutes before Tribal, that's something. But we don't know exactly how much time they had. If she had the time, she should have done it at camp, because trying to blow stuff up at Tribal is not as easy as it looks. A lot of times it can just backfire, and people want to play it safe. You're better off doing this on the beach. So I don't know how much time she had, but if she had the time, that's what she should have done.
Yeah, this is one of my biggest pet peeves from players, is that they wait to make a move or make a scene or try to turn a plan or a story against someone until they're at tribal council. And it's just because of the success rate. Like, yeah, you could tank that person's game. You're probably still going to go home. So try to do something. There is plenty of time. Angelina has proven there's plenty of time to throw her under the bus beforehand, even if you do only have 2 minutes. Scramble a little bit. Maybe nothing gets put into place, but people can think about that on their way to tribal council, and then maybe something happens.
Sure.
You guys are discounting the fact that Elizabeth was just putting on a show for the jury. I'm just kidding.
What?
You missed the joke. The joke went right over your head. I'm saying like Elizabeth was trying to put on a show for the jury, but there is no jury.
Oh, I get you.
And anyway,
Oh.
it just did not land with you, Ryan. I hope Josh got it.
I
but
didn't.
I tried to say it with a wink and a nod, but sometimes it's hard to vocalize a wink.
Well, sometimes if you say something so absurd, you're going to get an absurd reaction.
Yeah, no. Very clearly, I'm on your guys' team. Like, even with 2 minutes, try and go grab Alec because he's the most volatile Goliath at this point. If you have 2 minutes, there's your 2 minutes. I don't care who sees. Hey, just so you know, Angelina blew up your spot. I'm going to vote for Angelina. Bye.
Yep. I know. She just told me like that you guys are coming for me. Can you trust her? I'm going to vote for her.
She tried to do it last minute to shake things up. Bye.
So at Tribal Council, Elizabeth's going to blow up Angelina's spot. Hilariously, and the Goliaths are all like, "Oh, you were pandering to the jury. You were just trying to curry favor so Elizabeth would vote." Gotcha, that's what you're doing. She's like, "No, that's not what I was doing. I promise."
Pay no attention to exactly what I was doing.
I love this Tribal Council so much. It's so funny watching Angelina in the hot seat.
I had a human moment. And now I regret having that human moment. So thank you for teaching me not to have feelings.
This is what I've really learned today is the type of player that Elizabeth is. And yeah, I'm on your guys' side now. Let's vote her out. I'm 100% writing down her name. Yes, okay, Angelina. That's the takeaway.
But they are going to stick to the plan. It is 12 votes for Elizabeth, 1 for Angelina. I believe Elizabeth has the record for most votes received at a single Tribal Council.
12 is a heck of a lot for one Tribal Council.
So this is the right call. The Goliath should just take out a David easily. Whenever we get to the merge, I always say, you just got to get through it for the first one and then let things settle down a little bit. Try and get somebody out you've never met before if you have no connection. That's the ideal. Or somebody you can't work with. Hopefully you don't have one of those, but if you do. So Elizabeth getting cut is fine. Maybe the Davids put their votes on Angelina instead, but it wouldn't have worked. So I get going along with it because you don't have a choice, really. So I'm fine with the Elizabeth vote.
What I'll add, because I want to revisit Angelina's idea of voting out Christian. Why isn't it a better idea to vote out Christian at this point? Christian is very clearly a large threat. He's the kind of person where if he gains traction, he can hold on to it. He can make social inroads in his own Christian way. But I think the key here is that Carl offered up Elizabeth on a silver platter to the Goliaths. If you want to try and just buy yourself some time as the Goliath strong cohort, hey, we voted for Elizabeth because Carl told us to do that. Do you want us to vote out Carl next because you're mad that he's offering up David's as a sacrifice?
We can do that.
So that is why Elizabeth is the right vote. And it also puts Carl on the hot seat with his own tribe for the next vote. And again, keeps the facade up a little longer. It's also the right move for the other Davids to go along with this one, but this is probably the last one. You need to probably die on hills going forward that Carl shouldn't go. If you really want to play with us, it should probably be a Goliath next, yada, yada, yada. But Elizabeth is the right move here.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like we talked about, the Goliath motivation should be any sort of David. So if you can get Davids on board with other Davids, let's do it. Even if that means Christian stays around, Christian's going to be able to go later. Don't let it drag too long, but I think it's fine for now.
And, people like John and Dan who have a relationship with him, like, maybe I could use Christian. We definitely have to get rid of him, but, like, I'm close with him. I would rather get rid of somebody who I just met, as opposed to somebody who's threatening but I can work with.
Or someone who's a little more socially brusque, like Elizabeth.
Yeah, apparently she rubbed quite a few people the wrong way because she was in a lot of pain because of her back.
Yeah.
So,
which, not an excuse for you, Elizabeth, but I will say, I understand. Sympathies to you.
But yeah, and then, don't switch things up at Tribal Council. Stick to the plan in the situation. Deal with the fallout back at camp. You can get rid of Angelina next if you want. Best player of the episode, Derek, who do you got?
So for my best, I actually ended up going with Allison because I was really looking at the entire Goliath tribe here. Allison won the immunity, which takes her out of the running with any sort of initial merge nonsense that may go on. And I also really like that she's well positioned, and she ended up in a quasi-alliance with some Davids as well, along with Mike. I think this was a good time for them to just kind of sit back and let the Davids dig their own graves and just kind of execute on their own plan. And she's not close enough with Angelina and Alec where there's going to be any blowback on her if something were to happen with those lesser reliable Goliath tribe members.
I had Alec here because he had already put himself in a bad spot, and he very easily could have been going home in this episode, but I think that he made good moves to not be the point of focus here, for like being someone who double crossed his own original tribe. And then he could have easily just been like, okay, let's take out Alec because he's willing to be that Goliath that really sticks his neck out and votes out other Goliaths. So good on him for making connections back with his own tribe, but then also with the David's tribe.
I'm going to agree with Derek. I had Allison for everything you said, and then plus she has no prior connection with Elizabeth, so super good.
Hadn't thought about that.
Worst player, Josh, who you got?
I had Angelina.
What?
For
What?
very bad execution. We talked about it enough, I think, this entire episode or this segment of the episode. But yeah, whether it's social equity or lack of awareness, lack of execution, not being able to communicate properly to people, maybe just overthinking the game and trying to do too much, which is going to be a very common theme for her. Just trying to make it through. It's the merge. Like, come on.
Yeah, I have Angelina as well for everything we've said. I wanted to throw out 2 dishonorable mentions, one for Carl, one for Dan.
I had a dishonorable mention out to Dan for talking to Kara about the idol and then whispering to her in the night. I know that's bad for Kara as well, but again, I just in my head, that was all Dan. But ultimately, I landed on Angelina. The one thing that Josh, I don't think super duper highlighted is the horrible acting job that she did at Tribal Council, which is going to show to everyone, hey, not only are you kind of a whiner and not great socially, but like you're very clearly badly acting. Like you're a bad actor and a bad actor.
Okay. Oh, one thing we didn't do, just checking with winner picks.
Yeah.
I have Gabby, and you guys both have Allison.
We
correct?
both have Allison, yep.
So we'll see how this goes for us. Not well. Episode 8, you get what you give. So Angelina's going to try and do damage control by saying with the thing with Elizabeth, just an emotional human moment, and then tells us in confessional she was pandering to the jury. Her alliance does not buy anything she says, and Dan wants her out, and it's hilarious.
Still a bad actor and a bad actor.
Christian and Mike are going to talk, and Mike is concerned that Gabby is not fully committed to the Strikeforce Alliance because some of the comments she made at Tribal Council, and Christian's going to go to bat for her. Yeah, good for Christian for doing that because, you know, he needs the Strikeforce Alliance to happen.
You know, what I'm going to say here, we've already covered season 50 on the podcast. I have to be honest, after this post-merge, I understand very greatly why Christian never wanted to work with Mike. I almost want to retcon some of what I was saying. Now, I know that he probably still should have in season 50 worked with, you know, the David versus Goliath crew a little bit longer, just because other people will assume they have that strong connection. But me, oh my, Mike is... Every conversation he has with Christian in this post-merge is like a bit, like, I don't want to say problematic, but like a bit worrisome for Christian's position in the game.
Watching this season back, no one should ever want to work with Mike White ever unless you're Angelina.
That's correct.
It's hard because he's doing a lot of the things that maybe we talk about in theory doing, where you have a lot of relationships or a lot of different plans going around. And then, you know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Some of the things that I think he does that are maybe not so great is that it seems like he might push some of those forward a little bit more. So instead of like accepting plans that come to him, I think that he makes a lot of plans himself and pushes them forward and then lets them fall through or goes back on them. And I think ways to lose a lot of trust that way, which if you can keep it going, great, but that's going to be a really hard game to play.
Yes, but I also think... So Mike's going to make it to the end. And I think if he wasn't Mike White and Rich and someone else played this game, I think he would have won.
And that might be part of the reason why he wasn't getting targeted, because he was never going to win. Far be it from me to give Mike White advice on anything, but we are going to hear him say in this season that he has like hundreds of people that either directly or indirectly work for him when they're working on a project together. Having a conversation with Christian in this capacity where he's basically like, hey, you're literal number one. You're number 1A, your favorite person, best friend on this island. She's a problem.
You're exaggerating.
No, I don't really think that I am, because even having that conversation, given your previous relationship with Christian, which isn't a ton, is a bold conversation to have when the Goliaths are up 2 in the numbers and seemingly staying Goliath strong. So it's just a very bold conversation to have with Christian, and I don't think he should have done it.
Davey and Nick are going to go idol hunting. Davey's going to find the clue. The Goliaths are all kind of near where the clue leads. So Davey goes and stands out by the water and does a routine with the staff. Starts spinning it around as a distraction.
Oh, very Karate Kid. I love it.
Yes. So Nick and Carl, they let Carl in on the plan. Nick and Carl go search. Nick is going to find a vote steal. The three of them are going to talk, and Carl's going to inform them that he is the idol nullifier. Again, I don't love telling people about advantages. This is going to work out so nicely for the Davids.
If you think that it's Goliaths versus Davids right now, it makes sense to pool the advantages before this gets out of hand.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to have a really good read on that because this could go very poorly for you.
So Angelina's name was tossed out. Mike is very hesitant to do that. He doesn't want to give the Davids an opening. He wants Christian out next, he's decided, because he's the biggest threat. Gets all the other Goliaths on board. Alec is hesitant because he really likes Christian. And Angelina is salty. She's like, this is what I said last week.
I just said this. Like, I'm having deja vu here. And Angelina, yeah, you're right. You're right.
You're not wrong.
But again, Elizabeth had been handed up on a silver platter for a free, +1 in the majority. And also, you have no social equity. So, be salty about it.
And
you can be right and salty.
And even if you aren't Angelina, let's just say you're playing a normal game and you feel like you're a normal Survivor player, this would be giant red flags to me, because this is how your game gets invalidated. So if you are, thinking about making moves or trying to make moves and then people take it as their own and claim them or say that they pioneered them, whatever it might be, this would be my signal for Angelina to turn on these people, because they're not going to give you any credit if you do make it to the end with them.
I agree with that entirely.
Yeah. It's hard because, again, Angelina can't really go to the ends with the Davids because same thing. Angelina's in a tough spot. Let me get, on that note,
Ryan's rank downs.
Let's get into Ryan's rank downs.
I was actually waiting for this on this one.
Okay, so these were a little fluid over the course of the season. I think most of these people could have won, and this is a very, very, very high caliber group of players. So definitely some margin for error here. But as taking into the whole post-merge into account, here's my list of most likely to win to least likely to win, starting from this final 12 point. Number 1 is Christian, followed by Nick, Alec, John, Davey, Allison, Kara, Gabby, Mike White, Dan, Carl, Angelina. So I think Angelina's best chance is to go to the end with bristly personalities like Dan and Carl, who do piss some people off. I think that's Angelina's. I don't even think she has a shot there, but that's her best shot. So is there a world where she can somehow bounce back and forth, knocking out Goliath, knocking out Davids, and making sure those two stay in the game because they're pissing people off?
I think that's what it has to be. And yeah, are you going to piss people off and maybe upset them enough to where they don't vote for you in the end? Yeah, 100%. That is a likely scenario. But I think it's just as likely as your game being invalidated and you just kind of buy time to get to the end, which is exactly what happened.
Angelina's got to take big swings from here on out because right now she's drawing dead. I don't think she realizes that necessarily, but she's got to take big swings.
It's funny you say that. My wife was watching the finale with us yesterday, and she said, can Angelina win? Does she have any shot of winning? I didn't watch any of the rest of the season with you. And Ryan and I in unison, no. Does she know that? We're like, no.
And I know this is going to sound like we're dunking on Angelina a lot, and because we are.
We are.
Yeah, that's the end of that statement.
And there is no B. And this is coming from someone who loved her coming back on 50 and was super excited to see her play again. And I'd have her play again, to be completely honest. But this is going to be a dunkathon.
Absolutely not. I was so not interested in seeing Angelina back for 50. And I was kind of like, well, watching through up until this point, I was like, she's fine. She can be entertaining and it can just be weird. But by the end of the post-merge, I'm like, yep, okay, there it is. I remember why I didn't want to see her back. It's just, I don't need her.
I was fine with her coming back for 50. Now I'm good. She was kind of boring on 50. But so anyway, they agreed to take her Christian, but they're going to keep saying Angelina is the target. That's what they're going to tell to the Davids, and they're kind of like, Angelina, you screwed up. You got to be the fake target.
Which again, another red flag if you're Angelina, that maybe you should find a different strategy.
Yeah. Immunity challenge. Dan wins and honestly probably saves himself, ultimately. He probably would have gotten the John treatment if he hadn't won here. Angelina is worried about being the false target. So Dan says if someone plays an idol on Christian, he will play his idol on her, just to calm her down. But he tells the other Goliath, he's like, I don't really want to do that. I kind of want her out. Should I just let her go if that happens? I'm not going to play my idol on her. Okay, yeah, maybe don't.
Maybe don't.
Maybe don't.
I mean, you have a 2-person lead. Now, in Modern Survivor, that means nothing because of extra votes, steal votes, blah, blah, blah votes. But at least right now, with where we're at in Survivor, a 2-person lead, yeah, you know what? I might feel a little bit more comfortable about sacrificing one of my own, especially if that person might be a threat to me.
And, you keep both idols.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say, this season does have a lot of wackadoo stuff going on, a lot of advantages, a lot of idols flying around all over the place. So like a 2-person lead at this point in the season, they should also be thinking like, I'm not comfortable with this. But you can be like, okay, we can make something work here.
For Dan, an idol is more valuable than Angelina.
That's right. Yeah, an idol is more valuable for Dan than the Goliaths having a 3-person lead.
It depends on the Goliath. I think it might depend on the Goliath. If Angelina's the backup, right?
Yeah,
doesn't need her. Cara, maybe.
It might be good for him.
Might be good for him to play the idol on her potentially. But with Angelina, it's 100% keep the idol.
The only thing though, you did have Dan as only being able to beat Carl and Angelina.
That's a good point.
So, like, he would need to say, like, if I'm letting Angelina go, I need to step up my game in another way in order to put some distance between, like, at least elevate me above, like, Mike White, because he's, like, rich and doesn't need the money.
I think Dan has no idea that he's pissing people off.
Then that's the issue. So, like, maybe he accidentally falls backwards into the right move here, but if you're a normal Survivor player, or at least average, you probably don't save Angelina.
Yeah. So Alec wants to save his relationship that he's formed with Nick over 2 days? So he's going to tell him that Christian is going. So Nick immediately goes and tells Christian and Davey, and the Davids are going to discuss using their advantages. Like, how do we get out of this? They're lying to us. Christian's going, not Angelina. What do we do? So we're going to pool advantages, and it's awesome. This is so exciting. This is my favorite episode of this season.
Yeah, we're going to hit him with the old Street Fighter combo.
They see Dan as the Goliath leader, and they want to weaken his position, take out somebody close to him. Yeah, because they can't take him out. So at Tribal Council, Davey's going to play his idol on Christian. Angelina's like, Dan, please. Natalie, please. Dan, can I have your idol? Dan. And so Dan is going to play his idol on Angelina. But the Davids split their votes. In one of the most brilliant moves ever, they did a minority vote split. So the Goliath stuck strong and did 7 votes on Christian, and then the Davids split. There's 3 on John, 2 on Angelina. Amazing. Incredible. Brilliant. Wow. What a move.
And I'm trying to remember, I don't think anybody knew Davey had an idol. I think this was his secret idol.
I believe he told the Davids up right before this.
Okay, maybe that could be. But this was brilliantly played.
Yes.
Brilliantly. And I think they said the first minority split vote out in Survivor history.
Jeez, that's wild.
Fantastic.
Wild.
And so John's going to get the votes, and I'm going to go ahead and throw this one out there for most memorable moment of the season for me. This is mine. This is mine.
All right.
Not only of the post-merge, but overall. This is one of my favorite moments, one of my favorite blind sides in all of Survivor. This is so epic, taking down the mayor. The mayor of Slamtown got slammed.
And it's so sad, too, because I love him. I feel like being on the Goliath tribe actually hurt this man.
Yeah, I think so.
He was so much more than the archetypal physique that he brought. He was very self-reflective. He was very socially aware. He had a good head for strategy. I really want this man to play again. I just want them to do David versus Goliath 2.0 and bring back everybody except Nick.
He was fantastic. I mean, right away from the premiere, you could tell he was thinking the correct way. He wanted to make sure that he was a little more unexpected, based off of who he is, which I always like. And he was effective at it. It seemed like he was doing the correct things in order to actually make that happen. It's easier said than done. So I was sad that it came down to type of vote out. A blindside is one thing, but a blindside as a result of like multiple advantages being played, especially one that saves someone that you don't care about at all. It's just rough.
Imagine watching your number 1 play an idol on like your number 7 to save her, and then you go out in a legendary 7-3-2 vote split.
So Dan not only plays his idol on Angelina when he probably shouldn't have, he wastes it because it didn't save her. 3 votes John, 2 votes Angelina. Does not save her. It's a waste of an idol on many levels. So John goes out, and it's so awesome. Love John, but this was amazing to watch. So best player of the episode, you could basically give it to all the Davids, but I'm going to pick Davey. He found the vote steal clue. He distracted the Goliath so Nick could get it. He saved Christian. He knocked out John. Epic.
Yeah, I had Davey as well. I just said, heck of a move. And again, I also loved the Kung Fu / Karate Kid distraction.
I have no complaints about that. I give it to Nick just because he had that social relationship with Alec to like have him tell them about the vote that's going to be against Christian. So without that, who knows? Christian probably is going home. For me, at least, the rest of them were all great. So I'm just kind of giving them a leg up because of that.
That's fair. I can't fight that at all. Worst player, Derek, who do you got?
I got Dan. Overconfident in the reward challenge and his general demeanor with everybody. Overconfident in the vote. Ended up, he won immunity, but he's burning bridges all over the place. Played his idol wrong. Lost his number 1. And I mean, sure, he fell backwards into saving one of the only, just into making sure that one of the only people who he can beat stays in the game. But like, man, oh man, what a fall from grace.
Yeah, he didn't do that. He didn't save Angelina because he knows that he can beat her in the end, and that she's one of the only people that he can beat in the end. So not gonna give him credit for that. But I did give Dan the worst just because of the waste, the waste of the idol play.
I can't fight you guys on it. I totally get it. The one thing that made me hesitate from doing that is he did save himself. He won immunity. If he hadn't done that, I think he would have been gone. So I was kind of like hesitant. Definitely a dishonorable mention. I give mine to Alec for telling Nick that information, blowing everything up, because I don't think he was trying to get Christian saved. I think he was just trying to save or maintain a relationship that he made like 2 days ago. In hindsight, Alec 100% should have just stayed Goliath strong.
If he feels that he can beat the Goliaths, though.
Which I think he can.
I don't know that he can.
Not all of them, but I think he can beat a lot of them.
Like, if he stays Goliath strong, I'm not so sure he earns the David votes that he's pretending to curry. Because we're going to get a whole, and I know that this is looking forward a little bit, but we're going to get a whole conversation coming up with, like, Allison and Alec. Like, we keep telling him we're going to play ball with them, and we keep not doing that. Every single David on the jury in order is going to remember that and be more and more salty that the Goliaths never played with them.
So go to the end with 3 Goliaths.
So go to the end with 3 Goliaths, but then, like, why would they respect the guy who gave them false hope, never actually did anything with them, if the other Goliaths actually play a better game than he does?
Go to the end with Allison and Mike.
I think Allison destroys.
No.
Or just play ball. And I think that's what he's doing. I do think that Alec told them on purpose, essentially as a, hey, if you have the ammo to do something, here you go. Here's the information. And that way, if they don't have the ability to do something about it, well, okay, at least, you did that part of it. So, part of me thought that Alec actually wanted them to do something.
If he did, he shouldn't have, because this chain of events is going to lead to his elimination. John, Dan, and Alec fall like dominoes here, the 3 big Goliath guys. And I think Alec misread the situation, where I think he was like, yeah, I can work with these Davids. But it's like, no, you shouldn't, because you're a huge, huge threat. They're going to come for you. They're not going to take you to the end. Alec needs to go to the end with, because Alec, his social game apparently on point. Everyone really liked the guy, besides his thing with Natalia, but beyond that, everyone really, really likes Alec on the season. So I think if Alex gets to the end, he might have some trouble against like John, but I think he beats every other Goliath.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll probably differ on that. Maybe you know more than I do about the behind scenes goings, but I don't see Alec as being painted in such a positive light by the edit. And maybe it's because of what ends up happening to him that we see him painted that way.
Yeah,
I don't
okay,
know.
let's get into that. So Alec, after the season aired, he and Cara started dating for a while. And Alec posted about this on, I think it was Instagram, with the caption, F it. And to announce that they were in a relationship. And so because of that, Alec got banned from the reunion show because he violated the non-disclosure agreement. So Alec's not allowed to go to the reunion show. And I suspect they tried to trim him from the edit as much as they could. So, don't do that.
Yeah, it was weird just because he makes the jury and the reunion show is going to come up and they're like, and here's our pre-jury. You guys are awesome. Thanks for start kicking off the season. And then here's our jurors. And he lists everyone off and Alec is just not there, not mentioned even. And I'm just like,
Alec isn't there and Jeremy's not there.
Oh yeah, Jeremy too. I completely forgot about Jeremy.
Yep. Because I'd forgotten too, and I'm looking at the pre-merge people. I'm like, wow, was it really all women and Pat? Oh no, Jeremy was also voted out, but he didn't go to the reunion show. So yeah, I think it was a case of Alec's edit he torched his own edit because he was just stupid. But Alec was very well liked on the island, and Allison was also very well liked, but she did have some issues with Angelina and Nick. So. I think they're very close, and, I'm not saying 100% Alec would win, but I think he's got a good chance, and if they're both the ones who are promised, stringing David's along with Mike, go to the end with Angelina too, go to the end with Dan, I think Alec or Allison clean up.
Sure. With Angelina and Dan, absolutely, Alec could win, and maybe that's where he needs to pivot.
Episode 9, breadth? I can't say this word. Breadth first search, is that right?
Breadth, like Breadth.
Yes.
Breadth, yeah.
That is a hard word to say. Allison, Carr, and Alec have a nighttime chat. They feel like they need to join the Davids now, or the Davids will never trust them. Because this was the original plan with the Strike Force Alliance was to take out 2 Davids. Didn't quite happen that way, but they did try and take out Christian. Maybe they need to join up. It seems like now or never, because they've done the Davids dirty. Or you don't join up with them and you take them all out, so it's all Goliath at the end. Maybe keep Carl.
Yeah, this is hard. This is really hard because I don't know. I want to trust their read on where they stand in the game, and if they don't think they can beat some of these other Goliaths, then I don't blame them. If you mix up the game enough, I think it might be okay.
Take Mike, Angelina, or Dan to the end.
I don't mind what Ryan is putting down on paper here. I think maybe a slept-on David to bring to the end at this point, because she's been crumbling, is Gabby. She's been fairly unreliable, spiraling, very, I don't want to say emotional, but people are needing to comfort her a lot, and that's going to invalidate a lot of the game that she tries to play. And she's even going to talk about it and admit to as much, but yeah, for Allison and for Alec, I can see it being a world where it's, hey, let's get to the end with, Mike, Angelina, and Dan, and we'll try and take each other out. May the best Alec or Allison win.
Yeah. Gabby, yeah, I agree with you at this point in the game for Gabby. I think she's going to bounce back.
I think she can bounce back, but I think she's still falling. I don't actually think she does bounce back.
No, I think she bounced back in her final episode. I think she climbs in the estimation a little bit. So Dan sees them talking. And Dan's going to be a super sad boy because they're not talking with him. So he's going to pout on the beach all by himself. It's like, dude, go join him. Walk over there. Do they need to come to you?
Yeah, if I saw someone all alone on the beach while I'm in a group of 2 or 3 people, I'll think, they just want to be alone right now. And that's okay. He just had a really weird tribal council. Maybe he just wants to think about it and sit in his feelings about his best bud going home. And it's not going to be we're holding Dan out of these conversations because blah, blah, blah. No, just go.
So Car's going to over and talk to him and just check in with him. And he's really emotional about it. And she's like, you know what? I should probably cut ties with Dan. He might be sinking my game a little bit here.
Friendship with Dan over. Now Alec will be my boyfriend.
Yeah. This is where Kara got the ick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Dan. I mean, I think Dan was already giving her a little bit of the ick with how he was playing, but I think this is where she's like, oh no, this is how you are when things don't go your way. That's a waving red flag. Do not swim.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if she needs to completely cut ties with him. It's not bad necessarily for her if Dan goes home, but I do think if she goes to the end with him, she wins. I think everyone kind of sees Dan as a puppy dog following her around.
Where I will say socially, I think she almost has to cut ties with him completely because they were basically in a showmance.
Yep.
So you can't distance yourself without like distancing yourself. And this is another reason why showmances with people you just met are a really bad idea. So like, I think if it's going to be a break, it has to kind of be a clean one because otherwise it's going to be really weird. And that chasm is going to widen regardless.
Gabby's going to try to get Allison to join the Davids, flip on Dan. That's what Gabby's going to try and do. She and Allison are close. But Mike wants to stay Goliath strong, and he's like, let's keep doing this. Let's take out Christian this time. But Allison, Alec, and Kara, they decide they're going to flip on another Goliath before someone else does. They're going to do it. And then Kara is also going to tell them about Dan's idol. Oh, Dan.
You did this to yourself.
Dan. Self-inflicted. The Davids are going to get up early and go on an idol hunt. Good job, guys. Christian is going to find it.
By the way, bad on every Goliath because this is going to happen a ton. And I think eventually we're going to get like a Mike White confessional, like, we got to get up and we got to find this idol. Early bird gets the worm, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, it was good for you to learn after like not learning after, for the first 4 times.
That was in the finale that happened.
Yeah.
Eventually there's going to be a day where all of them get up early and go idol hunting.
But no, good on the Davids and very bad on the Goliaths here.
But Christian's going to get it. We're going to go to the immunity challenge, which Alec is going to win. So Kara, Alec, Allison, and Davids, they plan to split their vote on Dan and Angelina. But Allison gets cold feet. She and Alec, they talk. They're like, this is a bad idea, isn't it? We should probably stay Goliath strong. Because the Davids will clean our clock if we go to the end with them. Yeah, let's stay Goliath strong. So they let Kara know. So that's the plan. They're going to go back to being Goliath strong. That's fine. But you can't have a committee meeting after that. The Goliaths all have a big meeting on the beach again. I think all of them but Mike White are there. And the Davids are like, something's not right. This is off. Something is off here.
Like the only thing we're missing is like Spencer walking up to them and being like, hey, look at all those people talking down on the beach. They're probably conspiring against you. And then a Tony to like march across the beach to go find an idol, just lumbering Boston cop or whatever.
So I was wrong earlier. The full David meeting where they showed their advantage happens in this episode. I got them mixed up. They didn't have the full one in the last episode. They had that here.
Yeah, this is where they're going to coalesce their advantages. That's what I thought.
Yep, I had it mixed up.
Yep.
So Nick, Christian, Carl, they reveal their advantages to the others, and they're like, guys, it's time for the slingshot.
Slingshot engaged.
So Nick is going to play his vote steal on Allison, which is quite funny. Just like, yeah, I know you weren't with us. You were stringing us along, so I'm going to steal your vote out of spite.
It is kind of like, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, right? Like, absolutely, we don't trust. Like, I know that you said that you were going to work with us. How about I force you to work with us?
You're going to vote. I'm going to vote your vote where I want it to go.
You're going to vote exactly how I tell you.
And so this makes Alec and Kara panic, and they're going to change their votes. Be like, yeah, we were with you the whole time. You didn't need to see Allison's vote. She was with us. It was all good.
Which, I mean, I guess
that's what we got to do.
It's nice to have that on paper, but no, that's not where the plan was going.
So Dan is going to play his idol, but Karo played his idol nullifier on Dan. So the first idol nullifier ever works perfectly. So Jeff's going to reveal this. This is a hidden immunity idol. Dan, any votes that count for Dan don't count, except this is an idol nullifier, which none of you have ever heard about. Ever. None of the Goliaths have ever heard about this thing. Brand new. Sorry, Dan, it's for you.
Gee whiz. Wouldn't it be great if you had a second idol right now?
Womp. Womp.
Yeah.
Poor Dan. I feel bad for him a little
bit. The
bit.
delivery by Jeff was just perfect. Just like, this is an idol. And this is an idol nullifier. So if he did have both idols, could he have played a second idol right now?
Yes, he would have been safe.
I saw Dan's stomach rise into his throat when Jeff said, and here's the idol nullifier, because he's like, ha 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 ha. Oh, like I felt it go up.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
That sucks. That sucks to get taken out by an advantage that has never existed before and you had no chance of knowing about.
And here's the thing, everybody, because this is a very important moment in Survivor history. Very important. It was already good for your hardware to be a secret. From this point on, unless the circumstances are desperate, this almost makes it mandatory to try and keep things secret as much as you can. Now, Dan had no business and no reason to ever prepare for an idle nullifier to exist in the game. And up until season 37, you couldn't play like they're a thing. And you know what? There are a lot of times, even after this, where on the podcast, we'll say, like, you have to play like there's not an idle nullifier in the game in this instance, because we'll talk about sharing information. But everyone needs to be aware now that if you can keep that idle secret, you should keep that idle secret.
Correct.
Yeah, things like idle nullifiers, knowledge is power, stuff like that, all kind of gets lumped together into one big works against you because shared knowledge category. So, whenever we say any of these items, they are all treated the same.
The players who do the best in Survivor typically are the ones who can keep secrets. I know it's exciting, like, oh, I found this thing and you want to share it and you want to tell people. I know, I get that. But that separates the good from the great.
Or even the timing of sharing information, because it can be
Sure.
beneficial to share that information. It's, hey, I found this thing and I'm going to immediately tell my closest ally or a group of allies. That is the worst thing that you can do. If you hold on to that until, 10 days later, when you're desperate and need to share the information to make a move, there you go. That's when you do it.
When you can disrupt things. And yeah, let's say you have an alliance member who's salty that you didn't tell them about your thing. You can be like, I'm scared of idle nullifiers and knowledge is power. So that's why. Boom.
Yeah.
Everyone should accept that.
Yep. And if they don't, probably not worth working with.
Yep. So it is 6 votes for Dan, 3 for Christian, 2 for Angelina. LOL.
That's the exact note that I wrote down is LOL.
So once again, well done, Davids. The Goliaths, they blew this by having the committee meeting.
Yeah.
If you want to string the Davids along, that's fine, but you can't then go have a committee meeting. You can't do that. Josh, best player of the episode.
I'm interested to hear your guys' bests, because I will say I'm kind of I'm open for persuasion here.
Yeah, this was a hard one just because there's so much going on by multiple people. I ended up giving it to Christian just because of, once again, like, he could easily be going home and they could just be like, hey, Christian's the biggest threat. If it's got to be him, it's got to be him. And just being okay with him going. So being able to coalesce as a group together to be able to have a trifecta of advantages, I think is a big part because of their wanting to keep all of them together, including the person who I consider to be the biggest threat in the game. So it's kind of weird, but that's why I'm giving it to him.
I'm going with Carl for playing the idle nullifier correctly and taking out Dan.
I think I will let Ryan convince me, because here's what I wrote down. I wrote down all the Davids, but what I have here in my mental note is I love that Nick played the vote steal correctly, and I think this was a great time to use it. But I don't love that he, like, from an entertainment standpoint, it's great that he stole Allison's vote. But if you're trying to actually not burn bridges, one of the only people open to working with you, even though we know that she had decided against doing that, he doesn't know that yet. He stole her vote instead of stealing, like, Dan's vote. And
you don't want to steal Dan's vote. You don't want to steal the vote of the person you're targeting.
Oh,
because of ties.
That's a good point.
So not Dan.
Okay. But you could have stolen, maybe not Alex's vote, maybe Carr's vote, maybe Mike White's vote. You could have stolen someone else's vote. So, like, it goes up and then it brings it back down. The fact that Carl played the idle nullifier correctly, I think we'll go ahead and give him the edge. But, like, honorable mention really to the David tribe here.
My thing with that is I don't really care about who played it. I care about who came up with the idea. And I don't really think that it seemed like it was more of like a group strategy. I don't know who set that in motion or who defined, like, okay, this is what we should do with everything. So I don't know if it was mainly on, Carl to decide to bait them into, playing the idol, or specifically on Dan. I don't know, but it's the only reason why I didn't give it to, like, someone like Carl or someone like Nick.
Carl's going to get the credit.
Also, I really, really did not like the ding by Carl.
No, that's iconic.
It's iconic, but it seemed very showboaty.
Yeah, a little bit. Also, the first idle nullifier ever played, and it was correct.
The other thing we need to think about, I'm just going to say it, Carl was, like, bottom of the list. He had to keep, like, Angelina and Dan, and now Dan's gone.
Yes, but with a move like that, he could potentially rise up the
Yeah,
rankings.
that's right. I just wanted to at least mention it. Like, he's got a more grisly personality, but you now need to be very careful. Like the Davids need to not get wiped out first.
Yes.
But you need to build your game up while you do that. This is a step in the right direction.
And then maybe don't be so prickly from here on out.
Yes.
Worst player, I'm going to give mine to Allison. She was part of the committee meeting, which all of the Goliaths were except for Mike. She was incredibly wishy-washy. And for whatever reason, she was the one who got her vote stolen. So she was the one of like her, Alec, and Kara that Nick trusted the least. So she did something there. So I have Allison.
I had Kara, and it's mostly because like Allison's vote did get stolen from her, and that spooked Alec and Kara, and they ended up switching their vote. I think that's a bad look for them. For the Goliaths remaining, even though they're still up in the numbers. I think that the Davids were not convinced that they were ever going to be with them. I also gave it to Kara because, like, she realized now, finally, in this episode, that she needs to, like, cut ties with Dan, but it's almost like, okay, but that's kind of a bad thing that you just realized this now. I know Dan's gone at the end of this episode, but, like, she still has the stigma of having that showmance around. I don't know.
I think what you just said are both reasons to not give it to her.
I don't know. I don't. Maybe that last one isn't as big of a deal, but it is like kind of a negative in the episode that ends up getting painted as a positive because, hey, cool, she doesn't actually have to deal with the fallout of separating herself from Dan. The Davids took care of that problem for her.
I also had Allison. This is the episode where I kind of made note that she's starting to say the same things that we heard from Laurel last season, where it's basically like, I really want to make a move. And then partway through the episode or right before Tribal, I don't think this is the right time to make a move. Or, my move was not making a move. And I don't know if that's good or bad. Edit made it very difficult to figure out where she stood in like the rankings of her tribe on, who she would be able to beat. It seemed like she was not very high, but everyone was saying, oh, Allison's a threat. So I'm like, something here just doesn't really seem like it's making sense. And to me, maybe it's just because we're on the back of Ghost Island and Laurel that I'm like, do something. If you really think that you need to, maybe that means that you need to, and you should be making a move. And maybe that would have been wrong, but it seemed like she was just very wish-washy and lacking confidence in her game.
I think it's a case of Allison wanted to make a move and play Survivor, but this is a weird situation where the Goliaths are kind of screwed over by the theme a little bit, where it behooves them to stick together and stay strong to the end. It's crazy that it doesn't happen like that. But yeah, I know she wants to make a move, but the right move for her is to stay Goliath strong because she beats most of the Goliaths.
And I'm glad that you brought up the Laurel comparison because I was having the same thought. Like the edit keeps showing her and Alec is like, hey, we're going to make this move and we don't. Hey, we're going to make this move and we don't. I think the big difference is that there are so many people on the David tribe who can win, and Laurel kept voting out people that had like no shot of winning. And the other thing is like Mayor Slamtown, very much a winner, went home, and like now Dan has also gone home. It still makes sense for her to try and stick with the Goliaths because of the way these last two votes just have gone down with hardware being in the game. Hopefully the Davids run out of hardware eventually. Hopefully you'll get up early enough to find the hardware yourself and kind of recover your position. That's why it's different from Laurel, though, is like there isn't like a Dominic Wendell running the game right now that aren't, kind of paying the consequences. Those consequences have already been paid.
The dialogue is similar, but the situation is very different.
I think the really difficult part about being in a situation, and this is a unique situation just because of the theme, we're saying, the move is to not make a move because of that. If you're on the Goliath side, if you're going to buy into the theme of Dave versus Goliath and that the move is to not make a move, which, completely makes sense. The other big part is that the Davids are all really likable people, maybe not Carl as much, but it's going to be really hard to beat all of them. Completely understand. If you do choose to go down that route, how do you still win in the end? I understand being, part of a group of three that you can beat, but there aren't going to be moves that you can argue when you get to the end. Does that make sense?
Yes. If all of you made the same moves going to the end, the most likable person's going to win. So be the most likable person.
So then are you maybe your move is actively preventing moves from happening?
Correct. If you can do it, yeah, you want to keep the peasants of that are the Davids in their place, keep them down, knock them out. You know, Davey, Nick, Christian, and then eventually I would say even Gabby. They have to go. They will win. You got to go Goliath strong to the end. You gotta.
I don't agree with Gabby, but I do agree like with most of what Ryan is saying here. And yeah, the stories are exquisite. And especially because the whole Goliath tribe is kind of validating that they're buying into it. That only like kind of builds the legend too.
It's like Terry Dietz.
Now, what I'll say, just because like this is more of like a Castaway Consultants mythos sort of thing. If the Goliaths were to play exactly like Ryan is saying and accomplish everything Ryan is saying, Ryan would hate this season.
It'd be so boring.
It would be the absolute worst. I'm glad that none of this happens because the season is amazing. But like we are building like the most boring season because the theme itself is designed for to incentivize the most boring game.
I wonder if that's why there's so many advantages in this season, is because the producers knew that and they were like, we're going to do as much as we can to make sure that does not happen.
Yeah, probably. But, you know, I've said it before, you know, we're not here to teach you how to be the most entertaining person on Survivor. We're here to teach you how to win. Kim Spradlin, Boston Rob, look at their wins. Those seasons suck. They're so boring. But they played amazing.
Yeah. And here's the thing. If you were to like see Kim Spradlin on the street, you'd say like, greatest first-time player win of all time. Congratulations, Kim. I don't think you'd go up to Kim and be like, bro, your season sucked.
Yeah.
You'd be like, no,
yes,
we are not worthy. That was amazing.
I never want to rewatch One World. You're an amazing player.
You know, it's kind of like the old rule, like all your movies aren't going to be good if you're an actor, but you can be good in all your movies. Your season of Survivor might not be good, but you can be good in that season of Survivor.
Episode 10, Tribal Lines Are Blurred, and this is a double episode. So we'll, 2 40-minute chunks, 2 people go home.
Fun fact, Derek did not know this, and he started it at 11:10 p.m. during his watch through.
You know you can pause it halfway through.
Yeah, you can pause.
Oh, I absolutely could have, but I was committed at that point.
So Alec and Cara, they have to fess up to their votes for Angelina. And Allison has to admit she was with them, and they're like, "Yeah, we were totally with the Davids the whole time. Yeah, we were, going for Dan, and you were like kind of a backup. That's 100% what we were doing." So Angelina is done with the Goliath. She's going to defect. She's going to join the Davids. Fair enough. You still can't go to the end with them. You need, I think, Carl and Mike at this point. So, for now, if you need to defect just to survive, that's fair, and you can take out like an Allison and Alec, but you do need to flip back at some point.
It's time to pendulum back and forth by making sure that it's the biggest threats each time that get taken out. You can't pendulum back and forth and be taking out, Mike or a Carl or, someone else because you need to go to the end probably with those people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to very subtly disagree. Actually, it's kind of a loud disagreement with what you guys are saying. I don't think Angelina should defect because she still needs to go to the end with 2 Goliaths. What she needs to do is change literally everything about her personality.
Okay.
We're trying to give realistic advice here.
Yeah, exactly. We got to have actual advice that's doable.
That is, unfortunately, the advice that she needs in this moment with this cast, because she can't go to the end with any Davids. Not after what Carl just pulled off.
No, she'll lose, but her best chance is to go to the end with Carl and Mike.
All right, so everyone, if you're on Survivor on day 20 or so, go have a very introspective conversation with yourself and your personality to figure out everything that you need to change. There you go.
Ideally, be self-aware before you go on Survivor.
Yes.
So Angelina's going to tell Christian that Alec and Cara are full of crap, and they flipped their vote to save face once Allison's vote was stolen. I think the Davids believe that because Alec's going to go home in this episode. Davey, Nick, they get up early and they go idol hunting. Good for them.
And once again, the Goliaths are all sleeping.
Yep. Nick is going to find a clue that says he has to sneak out of camp during the night to get it.
Still love this.
Yep, this is great. Love this.
Do more of this.
Reward challenge. Alec, Allison, Christian, Gabby, and Mike, they're going to win. Solely because Alec is a beast. Alec winning this reward challenge probably made things worse for him.
Probably didn't matter, but it didn't help.
Probably. So on the reward, Alec and Allison are really going to work hard to try and convince Christian and Gabby they're with them. Gabby sees right through it. In a confessional, she's like, yeah, they're full of crap, but it's nice to have options for once. Just because people are full of crap and didn't work with you before doesn't mean you can't use them now. So
The other thing I think worth identifying, this is a cast where I know the Goliaths are staying strong, but the demeanor is closer to millennials versus Gen X than it is to like, Survivor Africa, right? So you don't have to worry about navigating people's feelings as much in the game on the season. Like, you still want to be a decent person. And as long as people are kind of open and receptive to the fact that gameplay might be occurring, that's step one.
Yep.
And step two is actually getting it to happen. And that's where we're recommending that the Goliaths put a kibosh on it. So like, it's good for Gabby and Christian and for, Allison and Alec to have these conversations and then just try and suss each other out from there.
Exactly. Carl wants Alec out next because he's so good at challenges. Fair. So he's going to start talking about this as the plan, but he tells this to Kara. He's like, yeah, that's the plan. Alec is out next. And she's like, okay. Hey, Alec, they're coming for you. That night, Nick is going to manage to sneak off, and he is going to get himself an idol. So Nick's got an idol now. Immunity challenge. Carl, Nick, and Angelina are all going to sit out for nachos, beers, and margaritas. Worth noting, Angelina and Carl had not won any rewards up to this point, so that was part of it. Angelina should not have sat out. Like, I know she probably has no chance of winning, but she should not have set out because she's in a precarious situation. I get it for Carl and Nick, so I'm not going to hold it against them too much. But yeah, Angelina should not have set out.
It's bold.
Yeah.
You're almost goading yourself.
Now, if you know you have a 0% chance of winning, fine, whatever. Angelina knows herself better than we do. Maybe.
yeah.
I was thinking,
maybe.
She knows her physical abilities better than we know her physical abilities.
I know I said like she needs to change everything about herself, but let's talk about like just again good gameplay. I think for optics right now she needs to compete. Cuz like again, sitting out right now is basically I don't think anyone's going to take me out because I don't think I'm enough of a threat to even be looked at right now. I think she does need to compete, and if she wins, maybe it's taking a very, non-vocal step back and trying to find her feet, but I think you need to compete.
Yeah, Christian is going to say something later at Tribal Council about the decision to sit out or not sit out and what that means, and that there's layers to it. It's not just like, oh, someone sits out because they're safe. There could be some reverse psychology to it, to where like I'm competing because people are thinking that I would sit out, and that means that I'm more confident in my game. Like there's so many layers and scenarios to this that I think that's exactly right. What you're saying, that people could see this as like, oh, she thinks that she is safe. So I think that Carl really was the only person that had a reason to sit out, just because it seems like he's, dying of nutrition.
And even if I hadn't gotten an award yet, I would not have set out for nachos, beers, and margaritas. I feel like that would just destroy your stomach.
Nachos would be fine. You got some good protein.
I don't like nachos enough to sit out for that.
They're probably soggy.
I love me some nachos. I love nachos.
This is going to turn into another nomination for the most memorable moment of the season. It is a 5.5-hour showdown between Alec and Christian, where Alec is dying. He's getting dizzy, on the verge of passing out, do or die situation for him. And Christian's having the time of his life because he has a captive audience. So and I think this is what I would do if I were in this situation. This sounds super fun. Just start talking. Yammer on about whatever nonsense you want because you can. You have Jeff Probst here. You can ask him whatever you want. You can annoy him if you want, which sounds appealing. You could just go off and talk about everything. I could... I wouldn't ramble on about all my knowledge of Survivor because that would make me a threat, but I'd ramble on about all my BS knowledge about other stuff. Talk about like how much I love Lost and how great every episode is and stuff like that. Talk about Mario Kart strategy. Stuff like that. That's what I would do with this kind of like brutal hang on for as long as you can. Is just talk the pain away. Iconic. And apparently I don't know if he sang it or said it, but Christian famously said, and it didn't make the edit, hips don't lie, Jeff. I'm like, release that. Release it.
Release the Snyder cut. Release the Hubicki cut. Where's the Probst cut? I want all 5.5 hours of this released on YouTube. And I want it to be like one of those like shadow drops, like the Oblivion remake, where one day the Survivor channel just puts it on YouTube. They don't market it. They don't do it. It's just 5.5 hours, Christian Hubicki annoying Jeff Probst. And it's just him regaling him about, physics, robotics, and tales of the cosmos. And then, occasionally cutting to Alec, just having the most miserable time realizing that like, of all Survivor players in history, there are maybe 3 that could beat him in this challenge, and one of them was Christian. The poor man is turning into a limp noodle. and he can't beat Christian.
Christian wins. Christian wins immunity.
Yeah, I want a camera set up on like a tripod just off to the side, and I just want just the one shot. You don't need to cut back like raw footage, just fully raw, kind of like what we see when there's like a medical emergency and they just start like set up the cameras and then figure everything out later. And then it can just be white noise as I go to bed.
Here's my challenge to Survivor production. Release the 5.5 hour uncut footage of Christian with the captive audience, and I will post a react video of me just raw dogging watching that footage. I will do nothing else but record myself watching Christian do this, and I will post it on our YouTube page.
The gauntlet's been thrown.
And I know, pretty big stakes. You know, it's worth playing for? I think so.
Iconic. One of the funniest immunity challenges ever. Poor Alec. So Alec is the target. Carl's leading the charge on this. Gabby's going to get upset because Carl is very much controlling this vote, and she doesn't like that. And then he also told Kara, so Kara's in on this. And Gabby's like, why would you tell her? That's like Alec's closest ally. That's a fair question. And Carl's just so confident he doesn't think anything can go wrong. He's like, yeah, we can tell Kara. What are they going to do?
Carl, we need to talk about your drinking problem.
And notably, the vote is not the same night as the immunity challenge. They pushed it to the next day. And I don't know if that's because the challenge went so long. You could tell it was starting to get a little bit dark by the time the challenge was over. So maybe they just made a game time decision and just like, you have a day to think about it, and tribal council's tomorrow. But I think that had an impact here.
When they get back to camp from the challenge, the sun is going down. So I bet you it would have been a thing where, like, yeah, you would immediately get back to camp and then have to go to tribal council. No time to strategize. So that would be my guess.
And after people sit there for a day, things happen like Carl getting antsy or Carl getting overconfident and just wanting to share information to people that don't need to know that information.
Mm-hmm. So Carl is going to get annoyed about how emotional Gabby's being, so this is just not good. So Christian's going to comfort Gabby, and Christian recognizes that Carl is going to have to go, not today, but soon. So Alec, Allison, Cara, and Mike, they're all going to try to convince Christian and Gabby to vote out Carl instead. And Christian's like, keeping Alec, actually, it might be a good thing for me because Meat Shield and Christian is number one on the threat board, and Alec is certainly very high up there, especially with the physical stuff. So I think there's a world where it might be smart for Christian to keep Alec.
This is one of the things that validates, I think, Ryan's rank downs a little bit. Because, again, we have to remember, Alec does not have an overly favorable edit. Wishy-washy at best is what we're kind of getting from him. And we're not seeing a lot of the social side that you talked about. But the fact that Christian is saying here, hey, Alec could be my meat shield. I'm kind of tired of being the biggest threat in the game. Or, it's nice to have someone even close. I think that is validating to that statement. Unfortunately, I think you have to take out a Goliath here no matter what. Maybe it has to be Alec. I don't know, but it has to be a Goliath. It has to be a Goliath.
And everyone else, it is a good move to get rid of Alec. So Christian, what can he do? So yeah, tribal councils could be 9 votes for Alec, 1 for Carl. Right move.
Right move.
Yep.
And it sucks to be Alec.
Sucks to be Alec. What a rough one. Okay, best player of the episode. Derek, who do you got?
I mean, I've got Christian for the 5.5 hour immunity win that prevents Alec from winning and really throwing a wrench into the plan that, one, he's got immunity, so he's off the chopping block. But like, even if he hadn't been on the chopping block, if he had lost immunity and Alec had lost immunity, like, people wanted Alec out here as well. So there's a chance either way that he gets what he wants. He's well positioned. He defends Gabby. He understands the position in the game. He doesn't turn on Carl here. That's also a point to his credit because he was offered and pitched on it. So I gave it to Christian.
I was actually a little torn here because I was trying to figure out if this was a good move. Like, it's a good move overall, but I was trying to figure out specifically for Christian if this was a good move, because they did talk about how, he might want to try to keep around threats in the game since he is already being talked about, and we still have 10 people left. So at this point in the game, would it be better to have meat shields around for him? And I wasn't really sure. I am going to give it to Christian just because when you are a threat, like, great, you won immunity. Another big threat did get taken out. Even if that person could, in theory, be a meat shield, I guess that's good. But it wasn't a slam dunk. It was not a slam dunk for me.
I did not think this was good for Christian, so I went a different direction. I gave this to Nick. He got up early to go idol hunting. He found the clue. He got the idol. He knocked out Alec. So I have Nick.
That's fair. I'm not going to fight that.
Worst player, Josh, who do you got?
I had Carl because he almost got himself voted out just because he's too confident. Likes to just get in his head, likes to have the power and likes to share that information. I don't know, but there's just a lot of unnecessary stuff going on with Carl. I'm sure it's okay. There's not going to be anything that bad that happens from it, though.
Yeah, I have Carl.
I had it between Gabby and Carl. I thought both of them presented very immature in this particular episode, but ultimately Carl's little drunken bender thing to talk to Kara about the vote seals his fate as worst player of the episode for me as well.
All right, part 2 of this episode. So Allison's going to have a bit of an emotional breakdown. She's very close to Alec, and she voted for him. So Christian's going to go comfort her, and that's kind of Christian's, move, is he's really good at comforting people who are having a hard time. He's great at it. He's good at being a friend, which is a great attribute to have, makes you a huge threat. But it is a really nice moment. They agree to try and work together. I think they both like each other more after this conversation, so it's just a sweet moment. Reward challenge. Carl, Davey, Kara, and Mike win reward. And Carl and Davey are going to get very drunk. And Carl is going to tell them all Allison is the target. And Kara and Mike are like, okay, you sure you want to tell us that? You're a little overconfident, aren't you, buddy?
Carl, we got to talk about your drinking problem.
Actually, though. But Gabby and Christian have been talked to by Allison, Kara, and Mike, and they agree to flip the game on Carl. They're kind of done with Carl's crap. They're going to flip the game on him. Carl's going to tell everyone the plan is Allison, but he intentionally leaves Gabby out because Gabby and Allison are close. And he says they're going to tell her the plan is Angelina. And this whole conversation is pissing people off, especially Christian. So Christian's going to fill in Gabby on everything Carl said. Carl, he assumes that nobody is going to leak anything he says. It's 2 episodes in a row he's done that. Not great.
Well, and the problem, I think he has become very comfortable. Complacent is the word, because the Davids were down. Mm-hmm. The Davids were out. And the Davids executed 2 very improbable underdog upside blindsides. So now Carl thinks that he can just do this stuff and information isn't going to leak, not realizing that with every vote out, the situations change drastically for everyone. So he got complacent, he got comfortable, and like many a Survivor player is paying the price for it.
Yep.
So I think that we might need to talk a little bit more about Carl before we get, much further, just because we're being shown by a couple people that Carl is the godfather, quote unquote. Is his threat level actually rising to that point of being a legitimate threat to win the game? Or is it just flash in the pan moment that's going to wear on people and he should be someone that maybe is kept around because he's too confident about it?
Now, Ryan probably knows a lot more about what's going on here, but what I'll say is from my perspective, I didn't see Godfather as he's going to win the game if he makes it to the end. I saw it as he is sitting in the hammock above everybody else, and he feels like all information has to come through him, and whatever he spits out is how it should be interpreted. It's how it should be acted upon. So he's acting high and mighty. It's like he's sitting on the vacant throne and pretending he's acting king. He's acting Godfather. And that makes it hard to play a different game. So I don't actually see it as him being a big threat. I see it as him. Why can't I think of the guy's name from season 50 and 48? Joe. He's kind of Joeing the game a little bit where no one can play around him because he wants everyone to play through him.
Yeah, Carl is more of an obstacle than a threat. He is seen as the leader of the Davids just because he's probably the most direct. The others just are a little more coy. So it seems like they're going to do what Carl says. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but that's the impression. So I don't think he's actually a threat to win. I think he's a threat to other people's games because he's so stuck in his ways, so set in his ways. But yeah, I don't think he was ever really he's certainly the least threatening of the Davids to win.
I like the way you phrase that. He's a threat, but not to win.
Yes.
Which could be a good enough reason, even if, he's not a threat to win. It might be a good enough reason to take him out if he's going to get in your way.
Maria.
Yeah, we call that like cutting the X factor. I think on this podcast we've said a lot.
Diffusing the bomb.
Yeah, diffusing the bomb.
The wild card.
The tribe is nearly out of rice, and Angelina plans to negotiate with Jeff because she's the best negotiator ever. And she's going to give up a bunch of reward stuff to get some rice.
She literally does the old, I took a college class one time, and in that college class, I took negotiations at Yale, so you could basically say that I'm Winston Churchill.
So we go to the immunity challenge, and Angelina's going to barter with Jeff. He's like, I don't want your rewards. I want one of you to sit out of the immunity challenge, and I'll give you a bag of rice. And Angelina's going to do this.
Which, let's just say that I think that she started, like, she's like, this is our start, like, the master negotiator says, this is our starting offer, but feel free to, negotiate and counter. Like, okay, you're just giving him all the leverage. Great job, Angelina. And also, it was so much. She offered up so much.
To be fair, last time I remember this happening was with Drew Christie on San Juan del Sur, and he lowballed Jeff, and Jeff did not like that. So you don't want to lowball Jeff. Don't necessarily give him everything, but you don't lowball Jeff. He'll get pissed, and then he'll demand way more. So there is that.
And the other thing you need to think about is like the Sarah Lucina effect, where it's like, you give up reward, you do this selfless thing, and everyone just sees it as like you playing the game to try and like curry social favor. If I'm Angelina in this moment, you have to remember you're essentially bargaining with a god. Because like she's like, I'll give you all this stuff for rice. And Jeff could just be like, and why am I incentivized to do that? Because you don't know how to do math? Like you can't count grains of rice correctly? That sounds like a you guys problem. So I think if Angelina wants to pull something off here, I think she says, Jeff, other people are a little bit gun shy to talk to you about this, but we are running out of rice. It has become a problem. Is there anything that we, or specifically I, can do to earn some rice for the tribe? And just pitch it to Jeff and then let him come back. And I do think it's funny that in modern era Survivor, like Jeff is going to start saying like, no, we need 4 people to sit out for you to get rice. Like this, I think, is a direct result of the negotiation with Angelina going over so well with the crowd. So for my entertainment, I'm glad she did it. But if you want to actually get credit for a selfless act and actually get somewhere with Jeff, I think you just be like, what can we or I do to earn some rice for the tribe? And then don't talk about it again, Angelina.
Let it speak for itself. Because
Yes.
Angelina, she does this and everyone seems to appreciate it in the moment. She's going to keep bringing it up. And everybody, by the time we get to Final Tribal Council, Davey's just so done with it. So yeah, let the act speak for itself.
Yeah, the only time that you bring this up after it happens is at Final Tribal Council, and that can be a light mention, just like as a throw in on top of another topic that you're bringing up, and be like, and when I gave it this, blah blah blah, and so and so and so, not 4 other times up until then.
Yeah,
I was gonna say bold move. I say you don't bring it up.
Yeah, I say probably don't bring it up at all unless there's a direct question related.
It has to be a throwaway part of like another answer.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the immunity challenge. Davey's going to win immunity. So Mike is kind of the swing vote here. Allison is a huge threat. Carl is running the show and annoying him. And again, I think Mike is someone who doesn't think has a great chance of winning. And so he is playing a little bit for comfort. He wants to enjoy his time here, and Carl's pissing him off. So I think that is a factor in this. It shouldn't be, because Mike needs to go to the end with Carl.
For Mike, it can be. The Castaway Consultants, we have a few carve-outs in Survivor history. Mike White gets his own little carve-out.
Yep.
1, he doesn't need the money. And 2, like, he's probably not winning anyway. So, like, I'm not going to fault him for it. But if you are in Mike's White position, this is not a reason to do anything.
Here's the thing, though. We do that, and we obviously, like, famously did that on Survivor 50 because of who Mike White was, and he had played before. At this point, as we have seen, Mike can win this game. He is going to get votes at Final Tribal Council. If that is Carl there instead of Nick, he wins.
I think he wins. I don't think everyone... It's hard to say, because I know Elizabeth specifically was basically like, I'm never voting for Mike White. He doesn't need the money. But she also doesn't like Carl. So if it's those two and Angelina, who does Elizabeth vote for?
She doesn't vote for Angelina. She doesn't vote for the guy who almost knocked him into the fire, so she already thinks very little of him. I think she probably votes for Mike White at that point.
I don't know what Elizabeth does there.
Just begrudgingly.
My point being that as it stands right now, I'm still going to grade Mike White fairly and consistently with everyone else here.
That's fair.
Yep.
I forgot that Carl is one of the surefire people he can beat when I made my statement. So, like, Mike, you probably need to be thinking about that.
Yes. And again, Mike can win. Is he trying to win, or is he trying to have the best time he can on Survivor? That's the question. He's
trying to do both. And it's very difficult to do regardless of who you are.
Yes. So we're going to go to Tribal Council. It's 5 votes for Carl, 4 votes for Allison. This was the wrong move. This should have been Allison. Mike needs Carl, and Carl is a good shield for Christian because, Carl's making waves, pissing people off. It's drawing the attention off of Christian, which Christian needs desperately. It makes sense for Gabby to flip on Carl because Carl is leaving her out of stuff, but it does not make sense for Christian to flip. Christian goes along with it because it's his number one ally. So this was the wrong move.
I think that's a really good point. I'm not sure, with Allison as the alternative, yeah, I agree. It should have been Allison. Because I think that Gabby, you need to think about the social politics. I think Gabby would forgive Christian for taking out Allison, even though Gabby and Allison kind of have a rapport that's never actually materialized in an important way. I guess it technically does here, but Gabby's going to flip on Christian anyway later on.
Yep.
So, what goodwill is he actually currying with her? I don't know.
And this is also going to start a domino effect. We're going to lose 4 Davids in a row here.
Yeah.
That's my biggest angle here is you finally got tied with them after being down on the numbers and having some crazy advantages go your way, that now you're willing to give it back just because someone is a strong personality who needs the conversations to flow through them. That is okay. As long as they're predictable conversations and predictable moves, that is 100% okay when you have whatever it is, 9 people, I think, left in this game. So because you can always take them out later if you really want to, or take them to the end. So I think, regardless of if it's Allison or someone else, I'm not saying that the right move here is Allison. I'm saying the right move is Goliath. So for basically all of the Davids, this is a wrong move, except for Gabby.
And then I would also throw in that Allison's probably the most threatening Goliath left.
Sure. I'll say I had a hard time actually having a read on that, but that is what people said. People said that she's the biggest threat.
For best player, I'm going to give it to Allison. She emotionally and strategically connected with Christian, and she got enough people on her side to save herself and take out Carl.
So, Ryan, you actually convinced me on something in the middle of the episode here, particularly with Christian needing to have Carl around as a shield, because I had originally said Christian. But because you brought up that excellent point, I'm going to change it and say Allison, because her connection with Christian is what saves her tonight when she was the right move. So yeah, you convinced me.
Woo!
Oh, it is definitely not Christian. I'm going to give it to Gabby because she's the only David who this was a good move for. And she recognized that she was being left out of the votes here and the conversations by this person. Kind of like what I said about Angelina earlier. If there's someone who's going to do that to you, you don't need to be working with them because they're not going to give you any credit later on because they don't see you as being part of their alliance. So I gave Gabby the best here.
Worst player, who do you get?
I've got Mike, and it's because he had the opportunity to keep Carl and take out Allison and kind of start to whittle away at the numbers in a way that he can still win the game. I think there's a world where, based on what Ryan convinced me on, that it's Christian as well. I had a dishonorable mention for Angelina just because I thought that the Rice thing was very disingenuous and it was kind of obnoxious, and it just gets piled onto the things that are very inauthentic about her that the people in the game are seeing happen. But ultimately, I'm gonna land on Mike.
Yeah, this was a tough one. It was a toss-up between 3 different people for me. I'm going to go with Mike here just because, I had just mentioned that I'm still grading him as if he was any other Castaway. And it seems like he can really only beat 2 or so people right now. And that's Angelina and probably Carl. Up in the air just because we're having a hard time with edit on whether or not he can beat someone like Akira. But I think that those are the 2 people that he wouldn't have a decent shot against. So in theory, him voting out Carl loses him the game, in theory. So I'm going to give it to him. Dishonorable mention to the other 2 people I was considering, one being Angelina. I really wanted to give it to her, but dishonorable mention. And then I'm going to give a dishonorable mention to Christian because I think this is a complete reverse on last episode. I give him the best player, even though he took out a threat that was ahead of him. And that was because it helped keep the Davids together, and you can still have someone like Carl being focused on later. Now that's out the window. So it really feels like it's working against his reasoning from last episode. And I really did not like that from him. But just dishonorable mention just because Mike loses the game here.
I also had Mike. Yeah, I think he loses the game here. He needs Carl. So I think Mike can no longer win the game. Episode 11, so smart they're dumb. Nick is pissed, which happens a lot when he's left out of a vote. He's a little crybaby. Nick is upset with Christian. Christian tries to reassure him that Allison is next, but Nick is going to say, like, hey, we're back together, but he actually wants Christian out now. Loved ones reward. Angelina and Nick are going to win. That's fine. You know, they were left out of the last vote, so you go right ahead and win the loved ones visit and use it to work back somehow the game into your advantage. So totally fine that they win it. They're going to pick Davey and Mike to join them on reward. I know Nick's going to say he and Davey promised to do this, but I think Nick might have been better suited to pick Kara if you want to like work on building bonds that will actually help you. You have Davey. You don't need to bring Davey to butter him up more. You need to butter up different people. So Mike was a good pick, but Kara I think might have been a better pick.
I think he wanted to try and solidify a Final Four here, so I didn't mind it because of that. I think Kara would have been perfectly fine as well. And I also did like, you know, the fact that like I was good with them winning this, you know, because it was also a duo. And I think that's a good way for a Survivor to use this. You know, if they do end up bringing back permanently loved ones visits, have a duo run like this. I think that's a great way to get around people throwing the challenge.
Yep.
Yeah, this feels like something that went around the boardroom floor. Like, it's a good idea to throw the loved ones challenge. That's not good TV. Okay, we need to make them accountable to a partner. So genius, because yeah, I'm not mad at them for winning this one, because you might really make somebody mad if you don't try.
And they did this in Game Changers, where I think it was a trio.
Yep, and that was also good on production. Like, give production props where they deserve it. Ryan, I think that Davey was a fine pick, but I see where you're going with Kara.
Bad. I think Kara is better.
I see what you're saying. I do.
Angelina, Davey, Mike, and Nick, they're on reward. They make a Final Four deal. Davey does not mean it. He plays along, but he's like, I'm fourth in this group. I don't want to do this.
Maybe that's the reason that maybe Kara would have been better.
He's a little wary because the other three were on Jabeni together. And we haven't brought this up yet, but the three people who survived Jabeni are the final three, Nick, Mike, and Angelina.
Now, I need to speak to Davey Rickenbacker for a second. I really like his game more the second time watching it. He can absolutely win. Dude, forced fire making. If you are fourth in a Final Four, just make sure that you can, because you can beat Mike easily. You can beat Angelina easily. Make sure that you take out Nick in fire making. Or take Nick out at 5. Like, this is actually a very good Final Four for him to be in. I understand, like, he's pretending, and so, like, you know, kind of the facade is up that he's in it. But in confessional, I think even so, he should be psyched about this, with forced fire making being a part of the game now.
Maybe he's bad at fire making.
Practice now. You got plenty of time.
Yeah, if you're bad at fire making, you know, we've covered this, or at least I've said this before, but you have a 50-50 shot at going into fire if you want to win this game. That can't be a reason to go or not go with a certain group. So yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, Derek, is that you are like, who cares if you're fourth out of 4 here? Either win the challenge, and I think he potentially could beat Nick. So I think that this was a bad read on his part.
You know, maybe, but the important thing is he pretends to go along with it. He has the option. It's not like he's like completely discounting it, but he thinks there are better options for him.
I would just say you want your actions going forward to speak as closely to this Final Four alliance as you can, because this is very beneficial for him.
Gabby realized that Christian is amazing at comforting people, being a friend, and she's like, Christian will beat everybody. Yes, he will. He's a massive threat, and she's like, I think it's time for Christian to go. And so she's going to talk to Allison and Kara about it, and like, let's take out Christian. He has to go. He 100% has to go.
Christian has to go, and for someone like Gabby, I don't want to say she's ridden his coattails, but because he's been the driving force behind most of what they've done together, and he is so socially liked, she needs to cut ties with him early enough so that he doesn't get like the Maria Charlie treatment, right? The Cassidy, Carla treatment, right? She needs to play enough of her own game, either separate from Christian or with Christian knocked out, rooting for her on at Ponderosa. This is a good move for her to make now. Someone else, I would maybe say, hey, don't get rid of your 1A this early, but for her, I think this is really good.
And she's got to be the one to do it.
Yes.
I would say that this is actually one of the rare situations where doing it this early is good, just because if you decide to do this, and we've seen this before, you are going to be a big threat because of doing this, and you could very well go the very next episode. However, this is a unique season where there's a lot of likable people who can win this game. So you turning on Christian right now doesn't automatically make you the next biggest threat to go home. So I think that's right.
Correct. Immunity challenge, Kara is going to win. Christian wants Allison out. So Gabby realizes that if Christian plays his idol, she'd be safe. Allison would be the one to go home. Enemy of the state strategy. I'm right.
Ryan's favorite.
It's the correct strategy most of the time. So she's going to get everyone on board to vote Christian. And then if he plays his idol, Allison goes home. Whoop-de-doo. Great read. However, Davey, Angelina, Mike, and Nick, they realize that too. And they're like, how about we put the backup votes on Gabby instead?
Cruel.
Oh, brutal, man.
And they even assess it too. They're like, oh, that's kind of filthy, but I kind of like it.
Davey actually wants to keep Christian in the game because he thinks Christian's number one and he's number two. I think Davey is very high up there. I think Nick might be ahead of him. It's a little hard to say, but he wants to keep Christian in the game as a meat shield. And I think he does have the right read because when Christian's going to go in the next episode and Davey goes immediately after him. So I don't think he's wrong. So he is going to tell Christian that Gabby and Nick are coming for him. And Gabby and Nick, you're too close to allies. They're coming for you right now. So Christian's going to try to repair the relationship with Nick. Nick gives it lip service. It seems to work, but it doesn't. Nick is still coming for Christian. So at Tribal Council, Christian is going to play his idol. It's 5 votes for Christian, 2 for Gabby, 1 for Allison. LOL, Gabby. Gabby gets knocked out of the game.
And interestingly, wasn't the only vote for Allison Christian's?
Yes. So Christian tried to knock Allison out of the game, not Gabby. And because of the Mike, Angelina, Nick plan, Gabby went home instead. Hilarious. Really, really funny. Also, I think this is a really awesome gameplay across the board. I think everyone is playing really well to try and further their own interests. So I gotta say, well done. Kudos to everybody.
The only thing I'm caught between is, was it right for them to kind of step in underneath Christian's nose and take out Gabby? I know that they warned him that Gabby was coming for him, but is there a world where you want to keep Gabby in because Christian plays his idol and now maybe Gabby and Christian are feuding going forward, and it furthers them one step, one vote more, and maybe you get rid of Allison, who is still a very highly regarded Goliath, maybe less so than Kara. I don't know. It's unclear. Poetically, this is hilarious. I just don't know if it's the best move.
Maybe not, but Mike, it's good for Mike and Kara, at the very least.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Kara can beat Gabby.
Right, but just to have the Goliath numbers.
Yes.
I think they're still in the thought process. If we can get all Goliath at the end, that's the best case scenario.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but they're in a spot now where they want to go with all Goliaths, but Allison can't be there.
Allison can't be there.
It has to be the right 3 Goliaths, which there's only 3 others. So I think that's okay right now. If she would go home, yeah. Davids are feuding, and they can go 1, 2, 3 after that.
I think they need to save Allison and get rid of her at some point, but I think it's better for them to knock another David out of the game instead of a Goliath.
I'll agree with that.
Sure.
This is a soft agree, 60-40%.
There's a lot of options here.
Yes. Best player of the episode, Josh, who do you got?
I had Davey here because he got brought on reward. Great for him. Made a Final Four deal, which he's not comfortable being the 4th in that, and I know I criticized him for that read just because I think that with Final Four fire making, be part of a 4, who cares? As long as you think that you can beat 2 or 3 of them, that's really all that matters. But he's going along with it, so credit for him for that. And I do like the fact that he brought this plan to Christian's attention, because having Christian there is, I think, still in the very, very, very short term beneficial to Davey.
Yep, I have Davey. He keeps all of his options open this way, so I have Davey.
I was caught between Davey and Nick. I ended up leaning Nick, but I literally said Nick, I think, ? Because I like that he wasn't charmed or persuaded by Christian to really buy fully back into the Mason-Dixon alliance. He ultimately takes out Gabby, which weakens Christian's position without actually sending Christian home. Christian's idol gets flushed, and it does put him in a position now to where he can vote out everyone that he needs to who can potentially beat him, and nobody has hardware left. That said, I agree entirely that Davey tipping off Christian that he was getting flipped on so that he could play his idol was absolutely the right move as well. I am caught between those two. I'll stick with Nick because I like those reasons, but I'm open to you guys talking me out of it.
Nick was a whiny baby at the beginning of the episode.
He was a whiny baby. I'll go with Davey. Thank you. I'd forgotten about that. Because he was being kind of a sad boy, wasn't he?
Yeah. Nick does not handle being left out of stuff very well. He's going to throw a couple of temper tantrums this season.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you know what? And being a sad boy isn't good on Survivor. No. So you talked me into it. Davey didn't have his sad boy moment.
The Goliaths, and I think even Christian are going to make fun of him for behind his back.
Did Davey ever have a sad boy moment this season? It seems like he's always happy.
No. Well, to be fair, he was an alternate, last-minute alternate. He's just happy to be here.
He's playing with house money. I love Davey Rickenbach. I want him back so badly.
Worst player? I have none. I'm not going to give out one. I think everyone did a great job.
I just want you to make sure you read that. I also said NA. I did say comma, I think, because I think everything went down in a way that made sense for everybody. I'm certainly not giving Christian worse, even though like his number one went home, but his number one turned on him.
Not his number one anymore.
And she turned on him, and he didn't even turn on her. So like he can even say like, you know, Gabby, you went for me, I never went for you. Now you've got a champion on the jury for you. Not that he needed one, but like I can't think of who played badly enough to warrant a worst.
I had a hard time with this one. I wrote down Nick just because, you know, maybe it was a little bit of the whininess at the beginning, but also I think that he was so unwilling to mend fences for the benefit of his game. You know, I think that Nick can beat most people in the end, you know, can't beat Christian. And I think it's a toss-up with Davey right now. But I think it's still beneficial for him to not burn this bridge immediately. I think taking out someone like an Allison would be good for him instead of just immediately thinking, they went against me last tribal, and now I need to take them out because of that. So that's why I had him. It's not strong because ultimately this is fine for him in the end. It was just more so the attitude overall. So yeah.
I'm never going to talk you out of giving Nick Wilson worst player of the episode.
There you go.
Yeah. How about just a collective F Nick Wilson right here?
Yes, F Nick Wilson.
F Nick Wilson.
I lose my winner pick. So womp womp for me. So at the time I moved on to Davey, and I stand by it. Davey had a great episode. I just gave him best player. So I moved on to Davey, and that was a solid move on my part.
I like the pick.
Sure.
I like how you said solid move by me to move on to Davey. Wow, I am smart, aren't I?
I am great. Episode 12, Are You Feeling Lucky? So Nick is going to use his idol parchment to make a fake idol, and he is going to hide it under the raft. And then later on that night, Mike, Christian, and Angelina are all sitting by the raft talking, and he gets impatient, and he's just going to make a show of finding it right here in front of everybody. Dude, that just puts a target on your back. Everyone saw you find an idol, but it's not a real idol. It can't save you. But everyone thinks you have an idol. What good does this do you? You know, let somebody else find it. He got impatient. He jumped the gun. He wanted to make the show. Let somebody else find it, and, you know, it'll take down their game. So Nick was like halfway there. I like the fake idol move. I like putting it out of the raft, and then he blows it by finding it himself.
He explained it as maybe fewer people are going to get up and look tomorrow if I find it right away, which I think works for almost everybody. But you're right, it does paint a target on his back, but doesn't he still have a real idol?
Yeah.
So like he has some protection. I agree with you though. I think he did jump the gun. He should have had somebody else find it, and then it would have the same effect and he wouldn't have the target.
Mm-hmm.
There was a better way to do this.
I don't know. For some reason, I didn't hate it. The timing was weird, though. The timing made it seem hard to believe. So if anyone's going to be suspicious of it, which Davey is, I think it happened a little bit too quick. I could see it go either way, though.
Mike's going to tell Davey and Cara about it. Davey does not buy it. He thinks Nick is faking the idol find. Good read by Davey.
And which is exactly what happened.
So the next morning, Davey's going to get up early to go idol hunting because he doesn't believe Nick. But eventually, he doesn't find it. So he's like, okay, maybe Nick was telling the truth. Maybe Nick has two idols now. So he's going to tell Christian about this, and they're going to come up with a plot to try and get Nick out of the game. Boom. I am validated immediately.
Mm-hmm. It's true, you know.
It's true, you know.
Reward challenge. Davey's going to win. Angelina's going to try to get picked to go on reward because she got rice for the try.
Not to play this card, but remember that selfless thing I did? You owe me.
Angelina, it's not selfless if you keep bringing it up.
Davey, Davey.
So he's going to bring Nick and Kara instead.
Davey.
Amazingly, while he's on reward with Nick, Nick goes off to do a confessional or go to the bathroom or something. And so Davey's like, Kara, we're taking out Nick next. Damn. That's cold, Davey. I love it.
Fatten him up, give him his nice last meal before taking him out. Love it.
Taking him out back. Love it.
We'll kill the fatted calf tonight.
So Kara's going to fill in Allison. So the plan is for them, Davey and Christian, to take out Nick, but they want to leave Angelina and Mike out. Allison immediately tells Mike. Davey's going to get up early to go idol hunting again. He finds a clue. It leads him to a game. He is going to get himself an idol that is good for one tribal council. He can risk his vote to extend his life, and he can do that twice, but he is going to decline because he thinks he needs his vote. So he can just play the idol if things go wrong in this tribal council. Fair enough. Whatever in that situation, like if you think you really need your vote, I'm not going to fault you for it.
With his current plan, I don't fault it. What's going to end up happening like immediately is really frustrating because it would have changed my answer. Because at this point, lopsided votes, I feel like, are less common, or at least ones that are decided by one single vote. It seems like usually it's close to unanimous, unless well, I guess it's David versus Goliath. You never know. Maybe you do need your vote. Maybe you just take it. Be safe. Take it at the first one.
Immunity challenge. Mike White's going to win. So Nick wants Allison out. He wants her gone. He wants to do Allison this time, Christian next time. Angelina's on board to do this because she's got a grudge with Allison. But Kara still wants Nick out, as does Allison. Mike White wants Christian out, though. So we got lots of different conflicting goals. Nick is going to tell Davey that the second idol is fake. So now Davey no longer wants Nick out. He's not as big of a threat anymore, and he eventually told the truth. So let's switch it off Nick and take out Allison. I think that's fair.
I don't actually think it's fair. I think once you start marshaling the troops, which we're going to hear a couple people say in this season, marshaling the troops, I think it's wishy-washy, especially with all the wishy-washiness that has happened this season. And I don't mind Davey taking Nick out, even if he just has one idol in his pocket. That's dangerous considering that him and Nick are playing a fairly similar game. If Allison is such a big threat, then, it's good for Davey to have her around as an option. It's also still good for Davey to have Christian around. And if Nick is like the only alternative that you can get the Goliath on board with, I think you need to stick with Nick.
But if you can get him on someone else, maybe you should, because
maybe
we've lost two Davids in a row here. We're going to lose two more in a row. You got to stop the bleeding at some point.
Yeah, but you got to stop the bleeding at some point. But for Davey, I'm not sure with Nick if he can beat him or not, but I don't think he can beat Christian. So either one of them, to me, is fine. And I do think that if you have marshaled the troops here, that you probably should go for that person, because it is, if you don't and you take out someone like a Christian instead, there's just such a high likelihood that that information gets spilled over to them. If it's not not going to happen today, information is going to leak, and then it's up to that person whether or not they want to act on it.
Maybe, but Davey did get new information, and I'm a huge proponent of, change your mind when you get new information that causes you to change your mind. So there is that.
Yep. So I'm okay with him considering changing his mind. I am definitely like fast forwarding to where I don't think that he should, but I think it's right to consider, to your point. And one thing, this is just for Derek, I think Davey beats Nick handily. So I think that, Davey can make his decisions being fully well aware that he can beat everybody except Christian. That is how I feel. Davey needs to play the game.
I think Nick beats Davey, but I think it's close. I just think Nick made a little better inroads with more people. So Mike is going to tell Nick that Davey's coming for him. So now Nick wants Davey out. But Mike still wants Christian out. So at Tribal Council, Davey's going to play his idol. It's the only time he can play it, so that's fine. Nick is going to play his fake idol and try and gauge reactions to see if he needs to play his real one. And he does a bad read on it. He misreads people's faces. He's going to end up playing his real idol when there are no votes coming for him. So wastes his idol. It is going to end up being 3 votes for Christian, 2 for Allison, 2 for Davey. It seems like this ended up being a split between Christian and Davey. So I think this was the right move because Christian's the biggest threat in the game.
I agree. It's the right move.
Yeah, the only people who this, in theory, would not be a good move for is maybe like a Nick and Davey, just because of the Goliath imbalance. And now that the biggest threat is out, then there's not really anything left before they would want to pick you guys off. So for them, I don't think it's necessarily a great move. However, majority rules. So for the majority of people, this was a good move.
Yeah, I think this is from here on out the Christian and then the Davy, and then if Nick had lost at the final 5, I think it would have been Nick. I think the Goliath wanted to go Goliath strong to the final 4 and then hopefully take out Allison at 4. I think that's what was the plan.
I agree.
Best player of the episode, Derek, what do you got?
I have it as Mike for exactly that reason. I think this is the start of the final push that can put Mike in a position to where, like, if he drives the end here and gets to the end with the right people, he still could win. Like, he absolutely needs Angelina, and if you can get there with Allison, who's been defanged for most of the game, maybe people will respect that, because, like, Allison hasn't really been able to play. Like, she was inactive in the first part of the post-merge, and then had been nullified basically after that as someone who was always a threat and no one really wanted to work with her, left out of the vote a lot. I'm not saying it's likely, but I'm saying that he does raise his stock this episode with Christian going home, Goliath taking a decisive lead in the numbers, and taking that step toward the end game.
Yeah, I also had Mike. I think that if he's able to pull it off to be able to go to the end with all Goliaths, he has a shot. You know, obviously he beats Angelina, and I think he has a good argument. You know, we said that Mike lost the game when he voted out Carl. I don't know. I really do not know. It depends on how well he is able to articulate his game and his moves compared to Allison and Kara, because at least edit wise, it doesn't really seem like they've been doing a whole lot. So I think that he has a shot if he's able to go with 3 Goliaths.
Yeah, I mean, that's his only shot. I don't think he would have pulled it off, but you know, that's you know, you still got to play like you can win. But yeah, it's Mike for sure. Worst player, Josh, who do you got?
I didn't have anyone written down. I kind of wanted to just put Angelina, but I don't think there was enough there. So I had left it blank, and I was going to make a game time decision after talking through the episode, and I don't really feel strongly about anyone.
I did none. I did not give out one. I thought everyone played really well.
I'm going to give out one. I originally had NA, but after talking about it here, Nick played an idol and he didn't need to. So I'm going to give it to Nick for wasting an idol.
And wasting a fake idol.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what? I'm going to give it to Nick. You're good call.
F. Nick Wilson.
F. Nick Wilson.
All right. So Christian's going to play again. Do we want to see it?
Oh, yeah.
Hot take. Yeah.
Possibly the biggest slam dunk play again of all time. After one play in the conversation for like one of the all-timers. And it was great.
It was fantastic.
All right, finale time. With great power comes great responsibility.
Nick.
Ugh.
Sorry.
Yeah, Nick. All right, so everyone's going to go on an earlier morning idol search. Good. You learned. You know, it would have been great if some of the Goliaths had done this earlier, but, you know, they're doing it now. So that's something.
Say what you will, but nobody fools Goliath 5 times.
Angelina's going to find an idol clue. She has to dig up a ladder, and as she's doing this, she drops her clue and doesn't notice. So when she's bringing her ladder to wherever she needs to bring it, she's like, wait, where do I need to bring it? Where's my clue? Oh, no. So she's going to climb up a cliff and go way too high and almost get stuck up there. Apparently it was like 90 miles in the air or something like that.
Yeah. You know, basically into the stratosphere, I'm pretty sure. Which, again, Angelina is so... This word's kind of out of vogue now, but she's so extra. All the time. She's like, oh, I'm stuck. I can't go anywhere. Meanwhile, there is a cameraman with a 40-pound camera sitting right next to her. Like, are you kidding me?
So she doesn't know what to do, so she's going to hide her ladder for now and figure it out later. Lol.
Annex just hides it, which I don't know why she, like, hide the ladder, sure, just in case someone comes up on you, but you can go back then and, like, look for your idol clue. Like, people are just going to think you're looking for an idol, which everyone is doing, so who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Dumb.
Immunity challenge, Nick is going to win immunity. And what's really amazing to me is through this point, from the final 13 to the final 6, no one has won immunity more than once. It has been a different person every single time. Well, that is crazy. That's going to change from here on out. Nick's going to win the last 3, unfortunately. But yeah, from Allison all the way to Nick here, it's been somebody different every time, that's really cool.
Spread the love.
So he's going to take Angelina and Mike on reward. I think those were good picks for Nick at this point. And Davey's going to say, hey, don't pick me. It's fine. You're off the hook. Which, you know, if those two are aligned, which they need to be at this point, like we've always talked about, keep your closest ally back at the beach, and you can cover ground at both ends.
Yeah, and also when Nick received 0 votes at the last tribal, that had to have at least convinced him, like, was Mike telling the truth? Yes. Should Nick know that after wasting an idol and getting 0 votes? No. In fact, he should be like a little bit irritated that Mike like lied to him like this. We're not going to see that. I'm glad that he can kind of let it go and bring him on reward here. But yeah, in theory, Davey and Nick should be, you know, still copacetic.
What did Mike lie to him about?
That Davey was coming for him, or who was that had the conversation with him?
It was Mike, but Davey was coming for him. It wasn't a lie.
No. I know. No, here's the thing, though. I know it wasn't a lie. But come tribal council, nobody voted for Nick, and Davey ended up not coming for Nick.
Right.
And so, like, from Nick's point of view, Davey can still be like his best friend because no votes ever went his way, and he got paranoid because of something Mike told him. So it's more of like a, this is what happened. Even if Mike told the truth, because Davey ended up changing his mind, it just looks like Mike lied. You know?
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's a good point.
It's so interesting. It's one of my favorite like little social dynamics that I put together this on the second watch.
I wonder if there was any conversation about that.
Like, I don't know how he just changed his mind. It's like, I'm sure, totally.
Davey's going to try and drum up like, hey guys, those 3 on reward right now, they were all in Jabeni. Like, that's dangerous.
Correct.
And that's it.
And it doesn't go anywhere.
But of course, Davey, being the biggest threat left in the game, in my opinion, would and should say this.
Yes. Angelina, Mike, and Nick, they make a final 3 deal. They discuss taking out Allison or Davey. Both Angelina and Nick want Allison out.
I'm sure this final 3 will go nowhere.
Angelina is going to tell them about her idol clue and get them to help her. Mike, in another iconic moment from the season, is going to go looking for Angelina's idol clue, find it, all while holding a glass of wine.
And in my opinion, one of the most subtle, funny moments in Survivor history, when he's ducking underneath the bush, it pokes him in the eye and he goes,
Ow.
bitch. No, he just goes, bitch.
That's right, he did.
Like, people don't say that often on Survivor, and just like Mike White poking his eye with a little piece of bramble, and just like like that's what pushes him over the edge.
And this entire, I don't know, escapade of trying to find the idol and the idol clue is just like him just being like, you guys are idiots. Like, it's right there. He walks over, picks up the idol clue after about 10 seconds of looking for it, comes back, points up to where it probably is, and then where it actually is. Just like, yeah, it's probably just like right there. Like, just think about the height of the ladder.
And, you know, I don't necessarily, I'm not thrilled about how this goes down. But can we talk about how hilarious it is that Angelina is the one who says, women never find idols. 85% of idols are found by men. And I found this idol. Angelina, no, you didn't. You lost your clue, and then Mike found the idol.
Technically,
and she was extremely close to not even being the one. Like, if she was so close to Nick climbing up that ladder and grabbing it, and if he would have,
he's not giving it to her.
If he would have grabbed it, I don't know if that loses him the game or if that wins him the game. But that is a bold thing for him, 1, to do, and 2, to back down from.
So Angelina gets the credit because she's the one who gets it. So, you know, statistically, it's her idol find.
She finds it.
So, you know, she helps move the scale towards the women, but it's not great. It's probably the most embarrassing idol find of all time.
I think it is the most embarrassing. You know, the only one that might be worse is Korong when Jason gets the idol out of the tree when, like, I think like Alicia was like right there and it was like hers, she found it, but then the bounty hunter came in and stole it.
That's not embarrassing. That's funny.
But like the optics aren't good.
No, the
like,
optics aren't good.
So like if we're just talking optically, I guess, like for outside the game, it's like Angelina goes on this thing like, you know, being a champion for women, which is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
It's a great thing. And by the way, all the points that she made were salient and they were true. And I'm glad that Survivor has found a way to even that scale out a little bit. Angelina, that was a very embarrassing idol find. That was so bad. Like, you lost the clue and then you didn't find the idol.
And you got stuck on a cliff.
And you got stuck on a cliff and then used an 8-foot ladder to climb a 4-foot plateau. Like, this whole thing is just Charlie Chaplin levels of comedy.
It wasn't Nick that was standing right next to her, just like, It wouldn't be up there. You don't need a ladder to get up there. And she's just standing on like a boulder, basically.
That is a nice boulder.
Josh, you called this an escapade. I think that's a great word. This was an escapade. So Angelina gets the idol.
Good for
Good job.
Angelina.
For Angelina. So Cara and Mike both want Davey out. Though the plan was Allison, they're like, I don't want to do Allison. I want Davey out. And they don't want to tell Nick about this. So Mike goes to work on Angelina to get her to switch her vote. And it works. Tribal Council, it's going to be 4 votes for Davey, 2 votes for Allison. Nick was left out. It's the right move.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say on it, honestly.
Yep.
You can't get rid of Nick. Get rid of Davey.
Yep.
Best player, I have Mike White. He went on the early morning idol search. He didn't find anything, but he did it. He made the final 3 deal with Angelina and Nick. He found Angelina's idol clue. He convinced Angelina to change her vote. He got Davey out.
He also found Angelina's idol. Like, I know that she got the idol, but like he found it. Yeah, I agree that it's Mike.
I am going to give it to Angelina because everything that you just said happened together. Going out to look for the idol, being on the reward, making the final 3 deal, and finding the idol. Angelina did all those things, but she has the possession of the idol. Great, he was the reason why she found it, but that doesn't benefit his game at all.
But Mike was the one to convince her to change the vote. Her vote.
Because it was going to be Allison. Now, also for Angelina, it doesn't matter. I don't think there's anything Angelina could do at this point to win the game. But still, I think because Mike got his way and Angelina didn't get her way, that was what tipped it towards Mike. But I think Angelina's a fine honorable mention. And I'm not even gonna fight you on it.
I will.
Honestly. Ryan can fight you. I'm not going to.
I don't know.
Stand your ground.
Don't stand your
if
ground.
I'm convinced, Ryan.
You don't have to be, but you should be.
And it's so hard. It's so hard to tell how convincing it is because I have no idea how to read Angelina. Like, she could have been doing this the entire time. I don't know. I don't want to give it to Angelina anymore. So I'm going to give it to Mike. Not because you convinced me, but because I just don't like Angelina.
I'm taking the credit.
We'll leave that up to the jury. The jury gets to decide who gets the credit on changing Josh's mind.
I'm going to
give the credit to Derek.
Boo. I don't believe you.
This is why it's important to have people to back you on the jury, you know? I just got credit, even though it was very clearly... Well, no, it wasn't very clearly you. I was just like, Josh, I'm not going to fight you on it.
It's a social game. I just like Derek more.
I have recorded evidence that backs me up. Worst player, Derek, yeah.
So I wrote down like Nick with a question mark for the sole reason that he ended up being left out of the vote here. They didn't trust him enough to bring him in on the information where they were going to vote out Davey. But he did win immunity. I don't know if he saved himself. It's unclear. I like the picks that he took on reward. I like everything that he did on the reward. So like you guys could convince me that it's nobody because Davey had to go.
I did not have anyone written down.
I also said none because I think Nick did basically as well as he could have. It's just other people did their move that helped them more.
And they did the right thing too. Yeah, I'm gonna back it out because I did put I literally said Nick just for being left out could be NA. I'll just leave it as NA. I'll make that note.
F Nick Wilson, but you know.
This Postmerge was really weird because 3 times it happened where I left it blank and I'm like, I don't know if I can put anyone down. I'm going to leave it up until like we talk through the episode just because so many times it's like, yeah, it seems like everyone kind of made the right move.
5 times for me.
Jeez.
Wow. Yeah, there's 5 times I did not give out a worst player in this post-merge. High caliber gameplay, you know. If everyone's playing well, I'm not going to give out a worst.
And that's okay.
Guys, I lost my winner pick again.
Whoopsies.
Whoops.
Okay, so story time. I moved on to Nick after this, but it's because I was spoiled. And this is not my fault, and it's one of the things I'm most salty about related to Survivor. So I could not watch the finale of David versus Goliath on the night it aired because I think it was on an airplane. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to go on Twitter or anything, and I'm going to unfollow the Survivor subreddit so I don't like accidentally see anything. I had accidentally got spoiled on an episode doing that before, so I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to unfollow everything and not get spoiled, and then, you know, I'll watch it when I can. And I'm like, hey, in this way, if I don't go on Twitter and I unfollow this on Reddit, I can still go on Reddit while I'm at the airport and goof around or whatever and read whatever I want and not worry about Survivor spoilers. So it was a great idea. Someone posted on the goddamn bisexual subreddit that Mike White got second place because Mike's openly bi, and of all the things to happen, Someone post that there like, guys, openly bisexual guy Mike White got second on Survivor. Isn't that awesome? And I'm like, you. You know what? I'm gonna leave that in. I'm gonna put up a bleep there. That's what I'm gonna do.
There we go.
So I commented on it like, dude, seriously, I unfollowed the Survivor subreddit so I wouldn't get spoiled on this, and I got a ton of downvotes.
Yeah, you got downvoted to oblivion for
I'm
that. You gonna bleep that out too?
I am so salty about that. Whenever I think about it to this day, I get upset about it. It's like, this is such BS. How did this happen? So I got spoiled that Mike got second. So I'm like, okay, well, if Mike doesn't win, Nick wins. And so I'm like, all right, well, I know Mike, this is BS. It's not my fault, but I know Mike doesn't win, so I'm going to pick Nick. I probably would have picked Mike if I didn't know that, because Nick was just left out of the episode of this vote. So I'd be like, yeah, man, it seems like Mike could win this thing. So I probably would have picked Mike, but I picked Nick, so I'm stuck with Nick. I did it.
Yeah, did it.
All on your own, not with a little help from your bisexual friends.
Bisexual enemies. God damn. Kick the B out of the LGBT for that one.
Oh boy. This is how we get canceled.
Well, I'm one of those people, so I'm self-owning myself there. So
I'll say me and Derek are notably not saying anything.
You know what? Because of that, I'm gonna be pansexual instead.
Yeah, you're dropping the bi, picking up the pan. Let's go cook. Let him cook. You know,
congratulations. Now you're canceled.
I'm leaving that all in. It's funny.
Oh boy. You know what? The real lesson here is, if there's somebody bisexual playing Survivor, and you are going to miss the finale, and there's a bisexual who's in the finale, you need to unfollow the Survivor subreddit and the bisexual subreddit.
Pro tip,
Just
everyone.
don't go
Now,
on
what
Reddit.
Derek would say, what Derek would say is just don't go on social media and you Gucci. But this was at a time in your life where you weren't there yet.
It should have been fine. It's Reddit. I'm mad. I'm upset.
Well, and the other thing was, it not only was it posted on the bisexual subreddit, but it was upvoted enough for you to see it.
And probably didn't have any spoiler tag or anything.
Nope, none.
This was a group effort to spoil. Like, it took a group of people to ruin your night, right?
They're an unforgiving people.
You should have watched it live. I was on an airplane. God damn. I'm heated now. So yeah, if you're listening to this, because obviously you're a Survivor fan, whoever posted that, if you're listening, I remember, and I will never forget. The North remembers.
We're happy to have you as a listener, but probably don't ever own up to this.
Yeah, don't own up to it. You don't want that. All right, final five.
When we made it.
Nick is pissed, and he throws a bit of a temper tantrum, and the Goliaths all kind of make fun of him.
She's gonna win. She's gonna win.
She's gonna win. Alice is gonna win.
So such an 11-year-old thing to do.
Angelina and Mike are both gonna work on like comforting him, assuring him that Allison is next. But Mike is like, maybe it should be Nick next. He's pissed. He might come after me. Unfortunately, Nick is gonna win immunity, so that can't happen.
And you think it would have been him?
I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't have been shocked.
I don't know that it would have been him, but I will confidently say it should have been him, because at this point, Nick's story is one of perseverance, despite being the only David left. Like, nah, you got to finish that. Yep. Like finish it off. There are no more underdogs, and Kara, Allison, and Mike got to try and battle it out.
Yeah, Nick's story's too good. It should be Nick, but he saved himself. So Allison's the target, and Angelina wants to put on a show. She wants to have Mike get Allison and Kara to vote for her, Angelina, so she can play her idol and make a big show in front of the jury. And then she also wants to build a fake idol, try and get Allison to find it, play it, and get embarrassed and go home. Mike is annoyed by all of this. He's like, this is stupid. And so he just goes and tells Kara the whole thing. It's like, no, I'm not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Which, honestly, bad on both of them. One, bad because, if you want to have this be your plan, and if you want to have a show for the jury, because, Angelina doesn't know this, but she can't really win without something crazy happening. And maybe this is the crazy thing, but that's not why she's doing it.
Correct.
But then she goes and tells people that this is why she's doing it. She's like, well, why would we do that? well, I need to make a show for the jury. You guys have these things. I don't have anything in like the outplay or whatever category, and so this would be mine. Okay, if you want to do that, sure, but don't tell people that that's the reason why. They have no incentive to go along with it if they're planning on sitting next to you in the final three. Ugh.
Kara is going to tell Allison about this, and she's got an idea. What if they get Nick on board and they vote out Mike instead?
And this is why it was a bad move for Mike to do this.
Right. Because Angelina's got idol, she can't go home, Nick can't go home, so let's take out Mike. It's either Allison or Mike going. Allison is going to find Angelina's fake idol in front of Angelina and Mike, and Angelina's like, oh my god, she found it.
Oh my goodness, everyone, she found, and Mike just literally standing there with the most unimpressed look on his face. Like, he's like angry wine drunk still from when he found Angelina's idol.
I would like to think that the editors at this point are kind of on the same page as us, where they're done with Angelina and they're just like sick of whatever she's trying to do, because the sequence of going through and just being like, oh my gosh, Mike, oh no, like she found it, and like the speed that they went through with this, like finding it, her reaction, Mike's reaction, and then we like Allison's like very quick reaction, and then we just move on and like go to tribal council. We don't focus on this at all, and it just felt like the Survivor editors were just like, yep, technically this happened, let's move along.
Allison knows it's fake, move along. Move along.
Angelina's so clunky here. It was like if you were watching an anime, it was the bad English dub. That's how bad her like her acting was here. Oh, wow, can't believe it. Oh, anybody else hungry? I'm hungry. You hear my tummy rumbling? I'm still hungry. That's a real fake idol.
I don't get the reference.
Okay, people who have seen bad English dubs, like a lot of times, like animes will pan away and then they'll just have characters talk about how hungry they are to fill the space.
I guess I don't watch much anime.
Not that this matters, but Digimon is very famous for this.
I did watch Digimon, and I guess I do remember people talking about how hungry they are all the time.
But then there'd never be food there. Like, it was just like, oh, I'm hungry, because like kids can relate to that.
Sure. Okay.
Anyway, there you go.
I'm sure there's some listeners who relate.
I've seen Pokemon, Digimon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! That's it.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. You should watch it.
0 for 3 for me.
Yeah, have you watched any anime in your life, Josh?
Well, you watched the live-action Death Note, as you let me know last season.
Yes, I did. The movie.
Which I feel like most anime fans are like offended by that.
Oh yeah, they would be. Yep, that's anything that I've seen is that. Didn't watch the actual series, so no. I don't think.
Closest anime experience you have is the Death Note live-action movie.
I've seen some episodes of Pokemon.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how he knows about Machamp.
Yeah,
Machamp.
Yeah, I don't know if the listeners know this story, but once upon a time we had Josh try and name Pokemon, and he thought Machop was Machamp, and that's still one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life.
Like, I know this one's Machamp. Is this one Machamp? And I was like, you know what? That's actually a great name.
Perfect.
No notes.
One of the funniest things I've ever witnessed in my life. Like, amazing. 10 out of 10, no notes.
You're welcome.
So back to Tribal Council. Allison's going to say Mike is a huge threat. And Mike gets pissed about this. Weirdly angry. And he's like, hey, why don't you just leave this game with a shred of dignity intact? Dude!
Jesus.
Mike, are you okay?
Yeah, does Allison vote for Mike?
Yep. I guess the apology gave her at Final Tribal Council was enough. But yeah, this kind of feels like a Tyson to Katie moment.
Yeah, like this is like you were needlessly mean when really after you told Kara about Angelina's shenanigans, you left Allison no choice because Allison and Kara are close, or at least closer than, she is with Mike. So why would she target Kara over Mike? She's got to do something. So and Mike should be okay with this.
Yeah, not a great look for Mike. Allison's going to play the fake idol. She's like, this is like 100% fake, but, I'll play it. And Angelina's going to play the real idol in a way that annoys all of the jury because she tries to make a big show about it. And Gabby's like, she won't stop talking about it.
We're not done here, Jeff.
Because she had to make sure as she was doing it that she claims also the fake idol so that everyone knows that it was her fake idol.
And that she almost died getting the real idol.
Yeah, you really made me work for this one, Jeff.
Nobody voted for Angelina. It's 4 votes for Allison, 1 vote for Mike.
Nobody voted for Angelina. Well, that's going to be a recurring theme through the finale.
Oh, hilarious. This is the right move. You can't get rid of Nick, so it's got to be Allison.
Based on what we've been told, Allison's a bigger threat than Kara. I don't know if that's true, but based on this being the vote, I'm going to accept it as true.
Yep. Got to work with the information that we have.
Yep. And then, you could talk about, should Kara flip on Mike? No, because you guys can beat Mike because he's rich. Best player, Josh, who do you got?
I had Nick, 1 immunity. Everyone else basically did something bad this episode except for Kara.
I had Kara because I did think I'm going to give a net positive to everybody, but Angelina, was cringe. Mike was snippy. Nick was a crybaby. Kara wins best by default. She was fine and did what she needed to do. She was close enough to Mike to learn about this Angelina plot. So Kara kind of by default.
I'm giving it to Nick because he saved himself. I know that Nick is going here if he doesn't win immunity. Like, I know that he was in a final 3, but if he doesn't win that immunity, we would have seen exactly how fragile that final 3 was. I'm convinced of that.
Probably.
Worst player. I'm going to go out none. I think everyone was net positive, even though, barely. And then Angelina's someone you could point to because it's just embarrassing, but she's got to do something. She's drawn dead. All right, try and make this big show happen. It flops horribly, but I don't think it makes her position worse. I'm like, you know what? Credit for trying. And you knocked out Allison, which was a good one. So, no, I'm not giving out one here.
I'm going to give out a worst. It's Angelina.
That's fair.
Because, she needed to do something. I'll tell you what that was. Better. and here's the thing. Because Angelina is in the position that she's in, play the idol, save Allison, knock Kara out of the game. And then shut up about it. And then come up with a reason why you wanted to keep Kara over Alice, or why you wanted to keep Allison over Kara. Maybe she's been defanged for longer and she was more likely to work with her going forward. She didn't have that kind of relationship with her. Say what you want, make a move. Because any move is good for Angelina at this point. Well, I should say, any well-executed, well-intentioned, good move optically is good for Angelina. I could not have cooked up a worse way for her to do this. And somehow she did it. She just kept putting ingredients in the pot that were garbage. So Angelina gets it for me. I
also gave it to Angelina. Yeah, she can't win the game, so her position can't get worse. But you can still make bad moves. And because of that, I can still give you credit for being the worst player of the episode. If you were doing nothing, if she just chose to do nothing because she's just been in nothing and she stays in nothing, then sure, I wouldn't give it to her. But she's actively making moves that are bad, so that's good enough for me. I will give a dishonorable mention to Mike, though, because he almost got himself voted out here for absolutely no good reason other than dunking on Angelina. So, bad. Bad on you.
I ain't gonna fight you guys on that one.
My last little thing I'm gonna say on it, there's a saying out there, we've hit philosophical bedrock with the shovel of a stupid question. Angelina has hit gameplay bedrock with the shovel of a stupid move.
Amen.
Yes. Amen. All right, Derek and Josh, you've lost your winner pick.
Oh, yeah.
So, Derek, who did you move on to?
I moved on to Nick just because I felt like he could win immunity and ultimately win the game.
I also went with Nick because the only person, it's obviously not Angelina. Kara might, win if she gets to the end, but the edit has not indicated any of that. And I just don't think people would give it to Mike. So Nick by default.
And you guys would stand by that?
Yeah, I stand by that.
Yep.
Because you guys are big Nick Wilson fans?
The biggest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are a pro Nick Wilson podcast.
Famously.
Why don't you just go ahead and clip that, some random viewer out there, please.
Okay, well, you guys picked Nick, right? So we all did it. We're all correct.
We all made it.
Nailed it. All right, Final Four, immunity challenge. Nick wins and wins the game.
And it's over. Samotion.
Yep, good old Samotion.
Samotion of the ocean.
He is going to announce that he's going to take Angelina to the end. He doesn't want to make Mike or Kara mad when they go to the jury, so he's going to tell them and let them practice. Tribal Council, Mike is going to defeat Kara at fire making. So Kara goes out of the game. I think he very obviously made the right move.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made the right move. Now, obviously, based off of the edit, we know the answer to this. But if Kara makes it to the end, to the final 3, her edit's completely different.
Right.
Did she have a chance, legitimately have a chance to win this game? Do you
She's
know?
got a lot of friends on the jury, but I still think Nick would have won.
I think it would have been, well, because it ended up being
7-3,
7-3 or something like that. I think it would have been maybe like 6-4.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I think that's a worthy conversation. Now, a more interesting one for me, if Kara wins immunity here, does Kara win?
Yeah.
I think she does.
Yeah. I think Kara beats Mike and Angelina.
I think it would be like it would be interesting to see what her edit would look like.
Completely different.
Like, would we get to hear about how she's using Mike's celebrity as a reason to keep him around because she knows he can't win the game? I think there was a lot more to Kara and Allison's strategy than what we got, just because the David and the Nick storyline are so powerful and so compelling. But if Nick goes home there, everything changes.
Yeah. Goliath wins against
the
Davids. It's completely different. Best player of the Final Four, Josh, who do you got?
Nick for winning the game.
Yep.
One immunity. That's all you need to know.
I'll just go ahead and say worst for Angelina because she needed to try and fight to get into fire to do something. And the fact that she was delusional enough to be grateful that Nick was bringing her to Final 3.
And might I say that she also was celebrating because of her master negotiating, her persuasion skills.
Yeah, she persuaded.
To get Nick to choose her.
You know what? Yeah, she should have fought to get into fire. I originally gave none, but I'm going to switch mine to Angelina. You guys are right.
Honestly, it's one of the weakest ones, but I just wanted to keep giving it to her. So
she deserves it. You don't want it, don't deserve it, man.
Well, and I had not given a worse player to Angelina since episode 7, because there are other bad people. So the last 2 episodes, she needed to make up for lost time.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys changed my mind. Congrats. Okay, final tribal council time. And this one's close because Nick and Mike really played kind of similar games in a lot of ways. And yeah, it's just a really interesting final tribal council. So Nick talks about how one of his like big things was, all these one-on-one alliances that he made with nicknames to gather information, use that information to make a move. And the biggest one for him, he thought, was John, the John Blind side. And then later, his other big move was connecting with Jabeni, Mike, and Angelina. And here they are at the end together. Angelina's going to interrupt a question and take control, but basically, they were asking about, John was asking about, like, how did you finish? Did you finish strong? Because that's key in wrestling. And Angelina's like, I finished strong because I was dead in the water at the Elizabeth vote and crawled my way back. You survived, I guess. So there's something.
You were never dead in the water, but you never really did much, unfortunately.
You survived because no one cared enough to take you out.
Yeah, correct. Mike says he wanted to have as many people in the game as possible that he had final 2 deals with. He had them with Nick, Angelina, Kara, Allison, and Christian, which is why he worked so hard to take out Carl, Gabby, and Davey. He's like, they're not going to work with me. They need to go. I like it. Allison's going to ask Mike if he's got any regrets. He's going to say his comments to the final 5.
Yep.
He's going to get Allison's vote. He did enough to win it back.
Real softball question for him, though, for that one.
A little bit. Mike is going to get criticized by Dan for not doing much around camp, and Mike's like, I mean, compare me to you guys. Like, I'm going to be no help around camp at all when you guys are here. Yes, but Mike, you should still be trying to pitch in. People are going to notice that, like, even if you're not helpful, like, even if you're bad at it, you should be trying. Like Christian was bad at cutting coconuts. He earnestly was trying and getting help learning how to do it. That's the kind of thing you want to see, even if you're not a natural at the outdoors. Jump in with both feet anyway.
And, he was bringing up, building the shelter. You guys were crushing it doing that. Understandable. A very easy thing that people who, that might not be their strength to do around camp. Just go gather firewood. It doesn't take a lot of effort. You don't have to carry giant logs. You can just grab some branches, grab some sticks, grab some easy kindling, just to show that you're helping to do things so that this it's not an issue. You just want to be able to, push that off to the side.
Correct. Angelina is criticized for her fake idol play. She says it was a plan to protect Mike, and Nick's like, no, she's doing it to embarrass Alice.
I wish they would have gone back to this because Nick interrupted. He's like, no, and then let Angelina answer, and then they went on to the next question. And like, oh, I wanted him to bury her, but he didn't need to.
That's the thing. You're kicking a dead horse.
Yeah. It was quite funny though. But Nick is going to win with 7 votes. Mike is going to get 3 from Alice and Kara, and interestingly, Christian. That was a surprising one at the time. And Angelina gets 0. So yeah, no, Nick is going to win. I think Mike, if he wasn't a celebrity and played the exact same game, I think he would have won.
But if he wasn't a celebrity, could he have played that game?
Right.
The world may never know. The world will never know.
So the question I pose for everyone is, who would we have voted for?
Ryan, I guess before we move on to that, just because you a comment of yours, you said before it was interesting that Christian voted for Mike. Is that not a surprise anymore?
No, it's still kind of surprising because they had the Mason-Dixon alliance. So yeah, and Christian and Mike were never really on the same page. So it is interesting that Christian voted for Mike. It was a little unexpected, I would say. Aged very well. I'm sure Cara, Allison, and Christian are all very pleased with themselves, as they should be. Yeah, so I don't know.
Okay, I know if there's new information or something of like why he did. So
my headcanon is that Christian is one of the only people who went into Final Tribal Council with his vote undecided, and maybe he was just more impressed with Mike's performance.
Yeah.
I will say both of them had really good Final Tribal Councils.
Yes, they did. So yeah, the question, who would we have voted for? And this is tough. It's really close. Nick had the better physical game. He won 3, and was the underdog. Mike, it seems like, had the better social game. Nick was kind of a whiny baby sometimes. And then strategically, they're pretty even. So this is really, really tough. I think it would have depended for me on like what was my personal relationship like with both of them on the island. I feel like I would have gone on pretty well with Mike. Maybe I would have gone along fine with Nick at the time. I don't know, but I feel like I would get along very well with Mike. I want to say I would have voted for Mike because I'm a strong believer in the best player should win. Mike being wealthy is not a deterrent for me. I don't care about that at all. So in my heart of hearts, I want to believe I would have voted for Mike, but it would have really depended on just how my relationship with them was out there.
I think, unfortunately, my vote would have gone to Nick. Say what you will about the theme stacking the odds, against the Davids and setting them up for an underdog story. They did go in down on the numbers. They did have to execute a lot of crazy moves and coordinate better than the Goliaths did. The Goliaths actually did a pretty poor job of collaboration and communication, considering that it behooved them to go to the end with each other. Their egos clashed, including Mike's at times. And yeah, Nick was a bit of a whiny boy at times, but he did rise from the ashes of all the situations that he found himself in. And so it's not necessarily because he's an underdog. It's because he had a harder game to navigate and was able to execute, particularly in the clutch at the end when I think he would have gone home. He wins out, and they couldn't get rid of him. So unfortunately, I think after a couple of years, I would have strongly regretted my winner vote.
Fair. Yeah, I think I would have gone Nick, mostly just because I agree with what Ryan was saying is I think they're extremely even. And then it comes down to either a personal relationship, which is hard to always gauge. And I try to think of most of the complaints that people had about the two of them. And the biggest one that keeps coming to mind about Mike is that it seemed like he could be hard to work with strategically, either like change his mind on things or kind of baiting you into like certain, like thinking that a move is going to go a certain way. So like if I'm a super close ally of Mike, sure, I would have voted for him. Outside of that, maybe I don't. And I think I would have aligned more with the gameplay style of Nick. So I think I would have gone with Nick.
Okay, so Angelina, Mike, and Nick are all going to play again. Do we want to see it?
At this point in time, yes. Nick is now the only winner who I never want back. So,
but at the time,
yes. Mike is an easy slam dunk. Angelina, I would have said no at the time, but the further away from David versus Goliath I got, the more I was like happy to see her return. Now that we've seen her, I don't necessarily need to see her again, but I did really enjoy her on 50, and I enjoyed her growth.
Josh?
I don't care about her. At the time, yes, yes, no. Today, no, no, yes. With the only yes being Mike.
Yeah, at the time, I'm fine with Angelina coming back because I it was funny. The show dunked on her so much, and I enjoyed Mike and Nick. So yeah, all three of them. At the time.
Yeah, now you're gonna have to amend every single time you said, yeah, they're a winner, bring them back.
Yep. At the time, yeah, I would have agreed with that. And still, up to that point, I would have said, yeah, they're a winner, bring them back.
When we started this podcast, when we were first saying this, they're a winner, bring them back. But here's your asterisk.
Yep.
Nick Wilson, do not bring back.
Don't be a pile of crap. Reunion show is a pretty solid one, a lot of fun. No Jeremy, no Alec, which is funny. Just a solid reunion show. Not much else to say about that, I think.
Nope.
One of the few good ones.
Yeah. Let's wrap up this season with our best and worst players of the season. As a reminder, we can only give this award to the people who made the merge, Elizabeth and On. Josh, who is your best player of the season?
It's annoying, but I'm going to give it to Nick. I have to hold back from giving it to people who are voted out too early just because that, for someone like a Christian or a Davey, they just didn't do their threat management well enough or their setup well enough, which, I could argue the same thing with Nick, but Nick pulled out the immunity wins at the end. So I'm going to give it to Nick. I don't like any of the Goliaths enough to be able to give it to them instead.
I'm going to give mine to Mike. I think he's just consistently a better player than Nick overall. So I'm going to give mine to Mike.
I'm going to give this particular game to Nick.
It's so hard to grade Mike.
It's so close between Nick and Mike. It really is.
Well, the hard part is, we've kind of mentioned it a couple of times, but, does his game actually execute this way if he isn't who he is? Or does he go home? So it's kind of like he's almost ungradable for me.
I was very impressed with the target on his back going in. I was very impressed with Mike's game. Worst player of the season, Angelina.
Angelina, thank you.
And it's not close.
No.
Elizabeth isn't very good.
Dan isn't very good.
Dan's not very good. Angelina is pretty abysmal.
Yeah.
We have
bad.
so much more data behind Angelina.
I feel the need to talk directly to one of our listeners who commented on our pre-merge saying that Angelina was one of her favorite pre-merge contestants and they were super excited to hear our post-merge podcast. I really hope we haven't lost you, but my goodness, Angelina it's a tough watch.
I'm hoping it's your favorite because entertaining.
Yes.
That I get.
And also, I like Angelina.
Yes.
But on a game body podcast like this one, we're going to dunk on her the same way the show does. We have nothing against Angelina personally.
No,
not at all. We are very if you're new here, the player is the player, the person is the person. We are strictly talking about Angelina, the player. I want to make that very clear.
Now, Josh hates her, but...
I don't hate her. I just never need to see her on Survivor again.
Look, we all know it's because Angelina's a silly goose and Josh hates geese. So
I do hate geese.
That was really good.
It's absolutely true.
That's very good.
That's a callback to any of the new listeners.
Yeah.
Go back, listen to all our episodes so you understand.
Derek, you got anything for Jeff Watch?
Not really.
Weather report?
It rained a lot. It rained a lot.
Not so much in the post-merge, but...
It did rain in the post-merge, but this was clearly the wet season.
Yep.
And, calling back to the pre-merge here, they did get evacuated, rightfully so. Only second time that's happened.
Yep. All right. Let's get into the most memorable moment of the season. In the pre-merge, it was Natalie. Angelina asking for Natalie's jacket. So the question is, what is the most memorable moment of the post-merge, and does that beat Jacket Gate? Josh.
Yeah, we have a lot of nominations here in the post-merge. Marked a couple down that Ryan had mentioned. We have the 5-hour immunity challenge by Christian. We have the triple advantage, kind of blindside. We have Mike and his wine. We have the Slamtown blindside. There are so many good ones. And that, there's still others out there that you're going to remember too. On top of that, did I miss any, final nominations from you guys?
The challenge where Jeff keeps talking about the balls.
The balls.
Both of Davy's balls drop at the same time. Is it worse when your balls are apart or when they're stuck together?
He's been doing that since One World.
But it was particularly funny.
Because there's a pause and he's like, in this challenge.
This challenge.
He does that on purpose, by the way. He's admitted that he does that on purpose.
It's funny every time.
It's still funny. Ultimately, it's a close one. It is a really close one here. I think I'm going to go with the 5-hour immunity challenge and Christian talking through that, because that is one of the most memorable moments, at least for me. I'm going to go with the most memorable moment for me, but closely behind by Mike and his wine, I will say.
Which is one of my wife's most memorable Survivor moments in history. She was laughing so hard when Mike was like, bitch! And then just him just watching Angelina around. Like, we talk about Mike Whiting around. Just Mike Whiting around while Angelina's Angelinaing around is one of her favorite moments in Survivor history. But the captive audience 5.5 hour, that's a great pick.
For me, it's the John vote, because that's so great. But I'm not going to fight you guys at all. These are all amazing. But final answer is the challenge between Alec and Christian.
Yep.
Does that beat Jacket Gate?
It does for me. Jacket Gate's great. When you think of Angelina, there's a lot of things that you can think of, and the jacket is definitely one of the top ones. But I do think that the Immunity Challenge surpasses it.
Okay. All right. I can't fight it. It's amazing. Amazing. What a great season.
In a season full of memorable moments, man, I like the pick.
All right. Last thing we got to do is our season rankings. Where does David versus Goliath fall? I'm going to guess pretty high for all of us. I'll go first. I got mine ready. From the top, season 33, Millennials versus Gen X, followed by Cagayan, Cambodia, Philippines, David versus Goliath. Top 5, baby. Blood versus Water, Palau, Pearl Islands, Koh Rong, Tocantins, Vanuatu, Micronesia, China, Borneo, San Juan del Sur, South Pacific, the Amazon, Fiji, Guatemala, Panama, Samoa, Africa, the Australian Outback, Gabon, Marquesas, Nicaragua, Ghost Island, Heroes versus Villains, Caramoan, Worlds Apart, Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers, Cook Islands, Game Changers, All Stars, Thailand, One World, Redemption Island.
Well, from the top for me, Cagayan, Millennials versus Gen X, Micronesia, Koh Rong, Cambodia, China, Palau, Heroes versus Villains. And coming in at number 9, David versus Goliath, top 10, baby. Followed by Blood versus Water, Philippines, Tocantins, Pearl Islands, South Pacific, Amazon, Vanuatu, Guatemala, Australia, Nicaragua, Fiji, Exile Island, Borneo, San Juan del Sur, Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, Gabon, Africa, Cook Islands, Ghost Island, Game Changers, Worlds Apart, One World, Caramoan, Samoa, All Stars, Marquesas, Redemption Island, and Thailand. The only thing I want to add in here is that if Millennials and Gen X was my 7th favorite season, all of the blank versus blank seasons would be right in order for me because I have Heroes versus Villains, David versus Goliath, Blood versus Water. I know technically Blood versus Water 2 is in there, but that's San Juan del Sur.
Yeah,
so
that's funny. Josh.
Alrighty. For me, my top is Cagayan, followed by China, then Millennials versus Gen X, then Cambodia Second Chances, then Pearl Islands, Fans versus Favorites, Heroes versus Villains, Blood versus Water, and now David versus Goliath, also in the 9th spot. So me and Derek are on the same page there with that one.
All right.
Followed by Tocantins, Palau, Amazon, Vanuatu, Philippines, Koh Rong, Borneo, Australia, South Pacific, Guatemala, Fiji, Panama, Africa, Samoa, Cook Islands, Nicaragua, San Juan del Sur, Gabon, Marquesas, Ghost Island, Game Changers, Worlds Apart, Fans versus Favorites 2, One World, All Stars, Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers, Redemption Island, and Thailand.
All right, 37 seasons down. We have 1 to go, folks, and then we are done with the rewind.
My goodness.
We are in the end game now. We have 1 season left. We have not decided whether or not we're going to do that next or if we're going to do that after 51. We still have to have a production meeting about that.
Yep.
So I don't know what the next thing you are going to hear from us is at this point. Either 51 or Edge of Extinction. The funny thing to me is we started this podcast, you know, we were doing some reruns over the summer, but like the first thing that aired was Island of the Idols, the worst season of all time. And we're going to end with the second worst season of all time.
What a great bookend.
We have an amazing sandwich with 2 moldy pieces of bread.
I guess we just, had to then, do a rewind of Island of the Idols.
No,
right?
No, we do not. I don't want to. So Edge of Extinction or 51, whatever comes next, but not looking forward to that, but I am looking forward to finishing strong.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's here.
No matter what, we're going to have a good time with it.
We're going to have a good time talking about it, even if it's mostly dunking on how terrible Edge of Extinction's twist is. Guys, social media?
Yeah, you can follow us everywhere at Castaway Pod, YouTube, Facebook, Castaway Consultants. We have a website, which is thecastawayconsultants.com. Our followers do increase in the off season. So thank you to any new people that are around. Go ahead and engage in the comments section. We love to interact with you there. Interact with each other. It's fun to see people talk back and forth about, their favorite parts of the season or what people did right or wrong. So yeah, that to me, at least, that's my favorite part, is like interacting with everyone in that way and watching them interact.
Particularly on Spotify, we seem to have a fairly consistent community in the comments on the more current seasons, but there are a few familiar faces who resound through the Rewind series, and it's nice to know that you guys get value from all of this as well. I'll just go ahead and ask for it here. If you haven't gone on Apple and given the podcast a rating there, please do give the rating on Spotify. Those are the things that help us the most. We're just trying to grow the community here. Obviously, we have no sponsorships. We make no money off of any of this. We just do this for the love of the game. So yeah, just engage in Spotify and leave the rating, please.
All right. Anything else, guys?
Oh my goodness. 1 to go. Until next time.
1 to go. Mm-hmm. All right. This has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.